I'm always ready if you call us.
You're so good at it.
Because I do my
Good evening, everyone. If anybody would like to participate in the public comments, there is a sheet over here on this table. And you can sign up for that. I'll be signed in prior to start the meeting. Thank you. We usually start our meetings with our invocation, so if everybody else please rise.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessing of the day that you've given us, and we thank you, Father, for the rain that you sent, Father, that's filled our rivers and our lakes and our streams. But Father, our hearts go out to those communities that were devastated, those families that were lost, businesses were lost. Father, we pray that you would have mercy on them. Lift them up, show them a path forward that they might recover from this, Father, for this rain has come at a terrible price. We thank you, Father, for our community, for our city. We thank you for all those that are here. Thank you, Father, for our police department that keeps us safe and protects us. For those that serve in the administrative functions of our city, and for those who volunteer their time and energy, Father, to preserve the city that we have, to guide it and direct it as it goes forward. We pray, Father, you give us wisdom. We thank you, Father, for your guidance and direction. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Okay, college order at 6:30 p.m. and we'll start off with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Start. We do have some more. Everybody's all right. We'll start tonight with reports, presentations, and proclamations. And we are going to start off tonight with a award of appreciation presented to Rhonda Zunker, President and CEO of the Bulverde Spring Branch Area Chamber of Commerce. This is in grateful recognition of your dedicated service to the citizens of Bulverde, Texas. Since 2013 through 2026, with sincere appreciation for your time, effort, and devotion to public service. Rhonda has been with the Bulverde Chamber of Commerce for 13 years, leading that over there, and has done a wonderful job and is very well known in our community. She is retiring here at the end of the month. When we say that, I bet you we'll see more of her. But we just wanted to say we really do appreciate everything you have done for our city and everything you have done for our community.
Woo!
Wow. We're gonna have
Oh.
sorry guys, making y'all work.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Castro, you're in. You yours. My last.
Yeah, one in the big.
Get mine first, and then we're gonna have one today. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Next person. All right, and then I'll count your table. Thanks. Thank you. I'm not just You are gonna be truly blessed, you know that, right? Right, so. Right. 2B, Planning Department update, summary of the June 2026 activities. Come on down, Danny.
Woo. Wait a minute.
Oh, Mayor and Council. Most of the planning department items will be on the agenda tonight, but I'll just highlight code enforcement activity, which does not typically make it to the agenda. During the last period, we identified and received 34 complaints. Of those complaints, we identified 12 violations. Those violations, 2 ended up resulting in court charges, and the numbers overlap, but we had 7 sign violations, 2 work without a permit, 4 health nuisance violations, 4 zoning violations.
Could you please explain which ones went to court so everybody knows what that was?
I don't know the 2 offhand that resulted in a court case. I'd have to look that up for you.
Any questions down here?
He's been busy.
I actually do have a question. So, Danny, I spoke with Mike about it. I believe he's already running with it regarding the policy and procedures that outline the process which your code enforcement officers handle non-probation. Do we have anything developed yet so that it's transparent, that can be communicated to someone that may have received a citation? How do we close the loop on it? Are we
So nobody receives a citation as their first interaction with us.
Okay.
They receive a notification that we believe violation exists on the property, and usually, unless it's some kind of public safety hazard, 10 to 14 days to resolve it and just close the file. The only cases that go to court are cases that we just can't get any cooperation on. So our goal is to not have cases result in citations if we can avoid it.
So if we do have an open violation against someone and then they correct it, that they do not bring that information back to the city, do we have anything in place to close the loop on that validation?
So yeah, so we'll notify somebody informally, I guess is the way to say it. We'll send them a letter, but not file charges.
Okay.
If they don't respond, we'll go back to the property after the 14 days and see if the violation still exists. Let's say they fix it but don't tell us. We'll see that and drop the matter. If they still haven't fixed it, then it results in charges. But that process can take 30 to 60 days. And if they fix it any time in that process, we'll have the charges dropped at the court. And the day that it appears in court or the day before, we'll go by the property and see if anything's been fixed, remediated, or changed. So we check back many times before it ends up before the judge.
The only reason I asked, I noticed one case, my adjacent neighbor, his was corrected almost immediately after, I guess, notified, but then that was from April and it was still hanging on that report here in July. So,
well, with the report we send you is everything that's happened for the year.
it said open, that's why I was.
Well, then that's just an oversight.
Okay.
I'll get with the code enforcement officer about that.
Yeah, you guys got a real thing going on. I just like to encourage y'all to tighten up some type of policy. You spoke to it well, if that could be communicated inside of the policy and procedure book that you guys are putting together with departments. I think that would be excellent. That way, if anyone has questions about how the process works, it's objective, it's black and white, and you know exactly what to expect in the compliance process.
All right.
But other than that, thank you. I appreciate your work on it.
No problem.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
No problem.
All right, moving on to 2C, Planning and Zoning Commission. Do we have any planning and zoning? Okay. All right, so we're moving on to 3. All right, regular agenda items. Discussion of possible action to award the City of Bulverde audit services request for proposals and authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute all necessary documents related to the agreement.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Staff would recommend that the City Council award the contract for the annual independent audit services to Armstrong, Vaughn and Associates, PC, also known as ABA. They were the highest ranked proposal following a competitive request for proposal process. And should this contract negotiation not result in a mutually acceptable agreement, staff would like to recommend our second highest scoring proposal with ABIP CPA Advisors. We issued a request for proposal in May, received them all back in June 5th. Committee met independently. Each proposal was given to each individual. They reviewed it and ranked and scored based on the criteria within the RFP. We met, consolidated our scores, and came up with the two highest ranking. The two highest ranking proposals were so close in score that we did a second call with each firm, and then those scores were tallied once again, and then AFA came in again at the highest proposal. And with that being said, I know there was some concern that they are our current auditor, but they are willing to change audit teams if that's something that would make you feel comfortable. Do you have any questions?
Susan?
I had a couple. I noticed that the RFP talked about experience in helping a city achieve annual comprehensive financial report certification. I may have that incorrect. That's an award, GFOA certificate achievement. Is that something we're working towards?
So there is a GFOA award. We can put it together, but it's a massive packet, and it would almost be an audit team would have to work on that. So we haven't been awarded that yet, but they can help us get to that point if we want to do so.
I'm only asking because that was a criteria in RFPs.
Yeah,
Had
that they could.
experience in getting cities to that
Yes,
point.
and we're kind of maybe at the point where we could, maybe it would take some time.
But that's not a goal we're working towards. That's aspirational. is what I'm
Correct.
getting at. Okay. So that was not
Correct.
okay.
But the audit should be pretty clean. So, I mean, she may come in and say, you know what, we can get you to that point. Let's just put the extra 20 hours in and get it done. Okay, so we'll just have to see where we are.
That was it. I just knew that would take a lot of staff time. So.
It does, yeah. Thank you.
No, sounds good. Sounds like Armstrong Vaughn is the right way to go.
What would you say was because there's only a 0.25 difference between ABIP and ABA. What would you say was that main deciding factor there?
Well, I don't know. That was a cumulative score of each person that was on the committee. And that's just kind of how it worked out. Some people we can look at the scores. I mean, they vary depending on their perspective and understanding of what the proposal was that they presented. And so each person scored them on the criteria that was in the RFP. So that's just kind of the way it worked out, you know.
So who was the scores?
It was myself, Susan Bramley, Sandra Maddock, and Josh Estes, Officer Estes.
Who authored this document, this scoring rubric?
I'm sorry?
Who authored this?
I did. Well, I got it from the RFP, so I put it in there, and then I just added the scoring squares to add everyone's score in.
Do we use this for any other bids?
We have not, but I'd like to move in that direction.
Would strongly encourage you to consider that. Thank you. That's it. Thank you. Wonderful doc.
I agree.
Good job.
Thank
Very good job.
Madam Mayor, yes, I recall you saying at one point you had read some research that indicated rotation was desirable.
Yes,
Do we want to consider requesting a rotation of the team as
that's what I was gonna ask.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be good to see what's going
I let you
Same
finish before I start.
on. Rotate teams,
Yeah, so we do, and we had discussed as far as, rotation was desired to have that. Because there is such a minuscule difference between ABIP or Armstrong, Vaughn and Associates, and if we choose Armstrong, Vaughn and Associates, I have a question. You said they have other teams, they have alternate teams.
Yes.
So the team that we had this year would not be the team that's working on it next year,
If that's what we choose.
but would they consult together? Same being from the same company?
I don't know that they would consult. The benefit of it would be they would have our documents. They would understand if there was a question of, maybe for clarity, but they wouldn't consult on the actual audit. You know what I mean? It would be completely independent, their own opinion.
Streamlined, yeah.
All right. I would actually, my thought of this is I would like to see a rotation.
Okay.
On this, and that is my thought process, and it is desirable to have that, maybe at least, it's great to have the same auditor 1, 2, 3 years maybe, but on that 4th year, it's nice to have a rotation to see if that auditor is missing anything, right?
Okay.
And so my thought on this is to not go back to the same one that we've had, but to go to an alternate that is ranked to be able to fill that coverage.
Okay.
So with that being said, does anybody else have anything they want to?
I'd say it's more streamlined to keep Armstrong and Vaughn and just get a different team on there to get our set of eyes on there. I mean, like you said, they have all their documents already and they're familiar with their city. So I think Armstrong and Vaughn's a good option.
So going back to where we are on this, we're discussing a possible action towards City of Alberta audit service. When does this have to be?
Tonight.
So I guess I am going to make a motion that we authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute the necessary documents related to this agreement, but that we use a alternate company for that audit this year.
Not AVA.
Or use ABIP. That was the motion. We have a second.
And so are you recommending also this year go the EIP only?
Yeah, because you have to make it
RFP to go back out.
Yeah, well, you have to every year. You have to do it every year anyway.
This contract is for 5 years.
Well, this,
RFP
Well,
is for
every
5
time
years.
you have to go out for
It's
it every time.
renewable with the option,
it's renewable options.
with the option to cancel or to
Correct.
cancel if we're not happy with their service.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, so you next year you
I don't
go
mind
back to.
having like alternate, but we get both of the auditors. And then the alternate every year.
Oh, yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying.
I have never seen that.
But I mean, that's what.
I think that's really confusing. I would not recommend it.
Yeah.
But I do think that we need to go with an alternate.
Well, meanwhile, AVA they'll put a different team on it and you kind of get the same level of,
But that's
differentiation,
just the
but-
issue, because
but you
We'd
get a
like to have
different
an
auditing team.
we'd like to have an alternate.
I mean, you could do that, but
And I just think it's for clear transparency, and it is desired that we do that. How long have they been
I'm sorry,
our auditors?
as far as I know,
Yeah, that's why.
It's kind of memorial, although we have
See, that's why.
been here for
but it's the same firm, it's just a different team every year.
Right, and I would suggest, as I made the motion, that we go with an alternate, looking at ABI.
We identify any risk that would drive us to take chance. I mean, do we have any existing risks to deviate from the recommendation?
I I mean, you just gotta understand it's a completely different firm.
It's just a different firm that does their audit.
No, I get it. Staff's recommending this, the numbers align with that recommendation. If we're gonna shake things up based on hypothetical, I think that it should be substantiated by risk. That's my, like, Steve, I know exactly what you're saying, you're not wrong.
Yeah, and at a 0.25, it's not,
Yeah. That's a good-
it's not a,
I just don't want any bumps in the auditing process because the state legislature, there's high risk now involved with not getting your audit finished.
but you know what? It's better to be transparent and to have a second.
Well, they put a different team on at
It
AVA.
still continues to be the same company, so,
Mhm.
There's a lot of value in having auditors familiar with a program or a system. If they do have independent, if they have different teams in-house that they can put on it for forest for the trees perspective, that could be a request within a contract.
it is designed.
Go with a completely different outfit.
Were there any concerns about any of the audits that they've conducted for us in the past?
Yes.
There were?
That's why we recommended to go out for an RFP.
I'm drawing. Joe, you want to?
Well, for a while, we had the PO system. I mean, that was never even brought up. So how do you account for your financials for other PO systems?
Is it a finding or is it?
No, it was never mentioned. I don't know how we put it forward. That was one red flag. So, yeah. I mean, I guess that just got it now, but with an auditor, and say, hey, y'all don't use a PO system. How do you keep your encumbrances, active? That's what triggered, I thought, the council saying, request that go out for an RFP. Partial, right, but they were just, every year, it's a good audit, it's a good audit, it's a good audit. But yet there was some money that was moved prior to this city manager that we found after the fact too, that we did a lot of reconciliations to that were never mentioned in the audit.
So that the audit failed to discover this discrepancy.
And then, then to me, it's partially because there's audits, what we understood from, I don't know if Mr. Castro mentioned it, but that there's levels to audits, right? There's a high level audit, forensic audit, and, there's probably a middle of the road audit, right? But we're doing it at the high level. And, is it worth going to forensic auditing with something done in the past? Possibly not, right? But that's what they're looking at the surface, right? So we're not going below the surface level of that audit. But that's what kind of spawned a lot of these questions of why we're using the current audit firm and requested an RFP. So there's kind of, I get both sides of it, right? I want to trust that it's scored and use the data to let them decide what they want to use and what they feel comfortable with. But in the same sense too, it's like, we kind of were questioning why the audit was the way it was when we still had issues. So
Is the audit intended to cover, I guess this is a question I didn't pick up from the RFP, to cover internal processes? When would they have caught that is what I'm asking as part of a routine audit?
I would hope that would be a recommendation because I don't know how you develop costing other than actuals, I guess, and that's it. But I would hope it would be a recommendation.
Yeah, put that findings and then concerns.
Right. Yeah. And basically, I would strongly recommend that in this day of age, the city gets a PO system. Kind of exactly.
And we just got clean audits all the way through?
There was nothing that I've seen over the past.
Well, I can tell you, we have implemented a PO spreadsheet as of right now, and the city of Bulverde is really small in the number of POs that we issue. We do have Encode coming, or Tyler Technologies coming in, the new ERP system where we're buying the PO system so that we can start issuing POs. You're probably only going to do maybe 20, maybe 30 a year.
And the process is getting better all the time.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a PO system now that we're utilizing.
Right.
And is it what I have had in other cities? No, not necessarily, but again, the incoming software
Sure.
will take care of that. And
We
we'll
can
have
only be as good as we can going report, yeah.
I just feel really good about having somebody to come in and look at it, because based upon what we've discussed in the past and what Councilman Alexander reiterated a few minutes ago. And if it happens for 1 year and it works, maybe it doesn't, they don't work for us next year. But they know the processes too, Councilman Kraywitz, about the timeline and everything, they know the
Yeah.
state law, so.
But we're just
Yeah.
assuming they're gonna be better than ABA.
We're not saying it's being about better, it's about just having a second eye on what we've been doing, how we've been doing it, because there have been so many discrepancies.
Sorry, what I'm trying to get at is with the audit, was that part of the scope of the audit? How deeply into?
Strictly speaking, no. Okay, the audit is a financial records audit.
Okay,
They're looking to make sure that the information that we as a staff present to you as a council is accurate.
Right.
That the numbers are the numbers. That is the main job of the audit. And they will go back in and do a lot of detailed work, actually. They'll trace from the very inception of an expenditure all the way through to council approval and make sure that everything is done properly in accordance with state laws. So that's the real purpose of the audit. Now, the councilman is not incorrect in that if we're not utilizing purchase order system, it would be expected that the auditor would come back and say, the city should strive to adopt a purchase or implement a purchase order system to facilitate structured expenditure of municipal funds. Or words to that effect. That would have been an appropriate comment somewhere in the past. Having not had the history and not being able to get into the auditor's mind, I can't tell you why or if that statement was made or not made. But it would be my expectation also. I agree with the council member. I think that is something that perhaps should have been mentioned. Having said that, I also know that the auditors work with staff, they work with council members. Sometimes statements are made outside of the public realm that should be public. So I can't say that that comment was never made to staff in the past. It simply may have been made outside, again, of the management and discussion letter or outside of a public forum. I don't know.
And those typically are verbally outbriefed and it's recorded, and then next time around, determine if you've implemented that recommendation.
I think something that significant should have been in writing. It
Right.
should have been a part of the management discussion letter.
But regarding the discussion, he mentioned that there was a significant discrepancy discovered outside the past in audit. Should that discrepancy have been found on the audit?
I don't know what you're talking about, a significant
There was some of the
discrepancy.
budget reconciliation that we had to do after the fact, once the previous city manager left. And
I'm not aware
there
of
were some budget amendments we did.
But those weren't budget amendments to correct anything. They were to, and that was one of the concerns. She said you need to realign your funds. So if you go in at the beginning of a budget and say, I'm going to spend $5,000 on salary. So you hire someone new, someone goes away, all that. Well, then you end up spending $7,000, but yet you've got extra money in that department for uniforms. So I'm going to move that from uniforms to salaries. That's all that was. So there was no.
There was some of that. I guess there were some larger numbers that weren't reconciled or moved, and I get that it needs to happen, I understand that, but it hadn't ever been noted until after the fact.
And it wasn't been our auditors for this long.
there was some cleanup, there were years of bank recs or something that you were doing.
18 months worth
Yeah,
of stuff that
you
needed
did
to
a lot
be
of work.
fixed. So I think when y'all were presented with your first budget, when you came on board,
Right.
the information that was presented for that budget was a guess. It was the absolute best
Right,
guess
yeah.
because we had 18 months worth of financials that had not been completed due to software transitions and all the issues that they had. So
And
it
were
was,
those things taught by the
It was-
auditor?
yeah,
Oh, so
yeah,
it was-
absolutely.
yeah,
She
so it
was
a
working.
recommendation, it wasn't a finding.
No, she was working with, when I came on board, she was working with staff to find the problems,
Right.
to figure out what had happened in the transition to make it so out of bounds.
So is that the auditor's job though? I thought their job. was
They're
to
available
find
to us for
Not to.
all year
help you
long, whatever we
reconcile.
need.
I guess a question in that.
Yeah, they're available to help us out with any financial questions we have all year long.
My question would be, they've been our auditor for how many years in a row? You know?
Let's assume a long time.
Okay, so why is that just now coming up? That concerns me. Why was it not fixed originally?
Because
They
they-
are available to us year round,
They
right?
had just done the software transition. So prior to the software transition, everything was balanced and good to go. They did the software transition, the new software company pulled over, claim on cash transactions that were supposed to be wash accounts. It comes in, it comes out, you gotta have a debit, you gotta have a credit. So if I got a credit over here, I gotta have a debit. There's a way to make that happen. It's kind of like a do to, do from. They pulled all of that over into the general ledger as a reconcilable transaction. So we had about 20 to 45,000 transactions that were brought over in error. So we had to go through. And
So this was
avoid-
this was a software issue,
Yeah.
this was not
the
an
software
audit issue.
provider that pulled everything over. And so the individual that was in the position didn't have a strong accounting background, so she pulled the auditors in to say, hey, this is how I do this is how I make this work. And so she started working with her. She's now since gone, and I've kind of come in and taken her place.
And cleaned it up.
So that's
It was a
18 months
transition
worth of
period,
cleanup. So it took a long time and a lot of work and to figure out what was what. And the auditor would have caught that, and she does. When she does her end of year adjusting entries, prior to my work, there were pages of adjusting entries. You know, you got to fix it this, you got to fix that, you've got to fix this and this and this. And she makes those recommendations. Once she gets to a point where the audits are clean, she only has, well, for me, she had 2 entries that she wanted me to switch.
But this
So when
firm,
she goes line by line and really checks it, and she does do, I mean, it's not a forensic audit, it's a financial audit, and I think she does a very fair job.
but I think this firm, it's valuable having, they know all this history with the city, and we could still get another set of eyes on all the books by having a different team rotate in at PVA. If there's any question, they just go consult the people that were here when it happened. So, that's just my 2 cents.
I just think that, with respect that the auditors, regardless of who the auditors are, the issue that Councilman Alexander is talking about, I don't think it would have really been addressed.
But I'm glad you did, because that's the risk I was talking about, that I would say would substantiate the necessity to move to a different company. Because that's not, it's not a finding of their own fault. I don't think that's enough to substantiate. In my opinion, that's just where I feel. It looks like they've actually did a lot to step out and identify issues, and then they even acknowledge that maybe I'm not the right person to be doing this. They brought in help from their team, right? Is that what happened? They collaborated? I mean, that takes a lot. That's anybody. Yeah, sometimes we're all underwater, sometimes we ask for help, no matter how professional we are. We're all certified and experienced. So I don't see enough here to substantiate ignoring staff recommendation and ignoring this wonderfully created document so you can objectively stand behind the selection.
And it was done individually. I mean, there was no conversation, there was no discussion about any of the proposals. It was, here's your 4 proposals, please take them, go review them.
Best it was.
And then everybody came in with, because I didn't want to influence anyone,
Right, that's our RFP
in
process.
any way.
All right, we have a motion. We don't have a second. I know.
Second.
You second? Okay. All right, we do have a second. Okay, so all of those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All of those opposed? So we need a new.
Right, we need a
I
motion.
move to
Wait,
author.
give me a minute. Got a document.
the bond.
Okay, so. Now we can take that motion.
I move to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute all necessary documents related to the agreement with Armstrong Law and Associates and to include a rotation in the auditing team.
I second.
All of those in favor?
Aye.
All of those opposed? Okay, moving on. Will the public hearing consider an ordinance of the city of Bulverde, Texas, providing a special use permit at 553 Rosemary Ridge Drive, Bulverde, Texas, 78163. Permit the use of a guest house, amending the zoning ordinance, directing the amendment of the zoning map, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date. Hey, Danny.
Right, Mayor and members of City Council. Doesn't seem like it else. All right, so, this is, as you know, guest houses in the R2 1 acre plus district require an SUP to be authorized. The current request, is for, 528 square foot, residence. And the ordinance that you have, staff has corrected it, it was missing a provision about prohibiting dual metering. We have added that, you have the revised ordinance at your desk.
Is that water or electrical? Or both?
It's everything but electric. We do allow a separate meeting for metering for electrical, but not for water or wastewater. And I'll be happy to take any questions you might have. I'll mention the P&Z recommended approval unanimously this request.
Hey, Danny, what's the basis for allowing for a second meter? This is my curiosity, my education.
So you mean the electrical meter?
Right.
There are some situations or houses where not allowing for a second meter would require the entire breaker box to be ripped out of the house and replaced with a higher, if you route it through the main house. Yeah. And by not allowing separate water meter, you're catching it anyway. So as far as someone trying to set up a rental where it's completely independent from the main structure.
I was wondering if the basis was something else or equipment, so I appreciate that.
How many guest houses are in this neighborhood?
I don't know that number off the top of my head.
Several.
Quite a few. Dozens, not hundreds.
Remind me, is Phillips the ones that would build with the guest houses? Originally, they sold them that way?
No, that's Goldsmith, the newer neighborhood. Although I'm sure there are examples of houses that built with guest houses.
Okay, questions, Jeff?
The applicants represented invited that it won't be used as short-term rentals. Is that representation enforceable under the SUP as drafted or merely informational? Because the council was relying on the representation approving the SUP, would it be made an explicit condition? Because right now the ordinances don't simply say the guest house shall not be operated as short-term rental.
So the definition of guest house in our zoning ordinance excludes the use as a rental. And so I mentioned this when council originally adopted these provisions originally. Enforcing that provision, technically, yes, it's illegal to convert it to a rental. It's difficult to prove. So I can't guarantee that it would never happen. We do have tools to try and address it if it does. And that's the baby that was split between allowed, because it used to be not allowed at all in these districts.
Thank you.
And so if it came up on like Airbnb and a neighbor reported it, that probably the pathway to enforcement. More likely. I have any questions.
So we have 3 tonight in the same neighborhood.
They all in some.
Yeah.
Oh, the other one's in LVN, you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, not
2.
entirely.
Okay, questions on this then?
No questions.
I have one. All of these submittals tonight are in advance of a primary residence existing on the property. I'm assuming, but where I need some correction from you. The granting the SUP means that they would have to submit a permit for and build the primary residence before they would receive a permit to build the guest house.
Yes, we have a general rule, no secondary or accessory structures without a primary. They both have to be permitted at the same, the earliest you can do it is concurrently. And then you're not going to get a CO on the second one until the first one's done and it has its CO.
Okay, so we don't need to include anything in these ordinances. We're not authorizing to build tonight.
No,
We're
we've already
just saying
got
that it's possible.
another provision
Another,
outside the SUP.
okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, no question, just within space. It's good to go.
I have one on this
You want to do the public hearing?
one. Yeah, hold on. One minute. Is there any public comments on this? I see one here. Oh, this one's for the next one. Bill. This is the next one. Excuse me. No, there's none on this one, so.
You still have to open it as a public hearing and close it. Oh.
So, with having no public comments on this, we'll close that hearing on that, and then we'll move to the motion for this.
Let me call the question.
Okay.
I motion that we approve a special use permit at 553 Rosemary Ridge Drive, Florida, Texas, 78163. Permit the use of a guest house, amending the zoning ordinance, directing the amendment of the zoning map, dealing with the ordinances, providing the severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
Second.
All those in favor? say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. That's okay.
43.
Moving to 3C, hold a public hearing, consider an ordinance in the city of Wolverine, Texas, approving a special use permit at 34591 Tiffany Bell Road, Wolverine, Texas, 78163. Permit the use of a guest house, amending the zoning ordinances, directing the amendment of the zoning map, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
Mayor and council, same song, second verse. This time, we have a guest house request for 634 square feet. I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Questions?
One, unless you guys have one.
What's the first one?
What's the quality of these applications? Are they coming in pretty complete and are you having to kick them back?
So, mainly, the request at this stage is for the right to have a house. We usually don't get complete plans until the building permit stage. So if you're asking about quality of the structure and the plans on the structure.
No, I'm talking about a complete package that demonstrates exactly what we're trying to do, and they've done their due diligence and research ordinances, and they have a clue for walking in the door.
Most of the builder associated ones like this come in that way. The ones that are for established homes usually need a round or two. Show us where this is going. Have you checked your setbacks? Have you gotten, we tell people to check the HOA. We don't hold off on waiting for HOA approval. That's not our authority. But usually if it's an owner applying, it needs a little more polishing.
Okay, got it. That's to be expected.
Yeah, I would expect so.
I don't have any questions.
Questions?
Is the applicant here?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you don't have to come up. I was just gonna say, it's a nice big backyard.
You got all the neighbors too.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna open the public speaker time, and I do have Susanna Rodriguez here.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I was just here to provide clarification on the use of it. It is not our intent at all to use it as a rental property solely for the family. Game rooms, guest rooms, that's it. That's all I had to say.
Very cool. Very cool.
No more public comment on this?
Call question?
I'll move to approve a special use permit at 31244 Sunlight Drive, Liberty. Oh, that's C?
Tiffany Bell.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry. I move to approve a special use permit at 34591 Tiffany Bell Road, Liberty, Texas 78163 to permit the use of the guest house, amending the zoning ordinance, directing the amendment of the zoning map, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
Second.
All in favor, say
Aye.
Scroll down. My bad.
Reading. Hold a public hearing and consider permits. Hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance of the city of Bulverde, Texas, doing a special use permit at 31244 Sunlight Drive, Bulverde, Texas 78163 to permit the use of the guest house, amending the zoning ordinance, directing the amendment of the zoning map, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All right, Mayor and Council, this one will be a little bit different. The applicant requested a 990 square foot authorization to build a 990 square foot guest home. The ordinance generally requires them to be no more than 33% of the main primary structure. In this case, that would be 717.09 square feet. The ordinance allows the applicant to request to exceed that limit, which they've done. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended that the city abide by the 33% limitation and only authorize the 717.09 square feet floor area for the guest house. That's the location map is up there. Now, let me find the number so I can go to the actual site plan. Just give me a second. Page 66. There we go. This is the site plan that was included with the application. I'll be happy to turn it over to the applicant to speak on their request.
Please state your name.
Paul Tosh. Thank you for taking the time this evening and for consideration for council to consider allowing the guest house to be larger than the commission had originally approved. The purpose of the guest house is not intended to be a rental unit, investment property, short-term rental, or secondary residence for unrelated occupants. It's intended exclusively as a home for the property owner's father, who will be living on the property full-time as part of the family. The owner's father is at a stage in his life where being close to family support is increasingly important. While he currently maintains a degree of independence, the family recognizes that his future health and mobility needs may arise. So their goal is to create a living environment that allows him to age in place with dignity, independence, and family support. So the additional square footage, the 990 that the applicant is requesting, is for accessibility for a bedroom, living room combination, and kitchen area, a safer, more comfortable place for him to potentially move and to accommodate potential mobility issues in the future, and then also long-term livability without requiring costly modifications in the future. The additional area would substantially improve the functionality and the adaptability of the resident for the aging parent. The request is not about creating a larger second home, it's about providing an adequate space for future accessibility and caretaker needs. No additional density is being requested, no rental use is proposed, no commercial use is proposed. The only purpose of this request is to allow the family to provide a safe and supportive living arrangement for an aging parent. Ultimately, this request is again about family, aging in place, the ability to care for a loved one while maintaining independence and quality of life. And we respectfully ask for your consideration. And I do have a copy of the floor plan if anybody would like to see it as well.
And you are the contractor,
I'm the
correct?
general
You are not the.
Is it
Unlike
anticipated?
Wait. Everybody's talking over each other. Go ahead.
Councilman Hunt.
Is it anticipated that this 990 square feet would be ADA compliant?
Is it gonna be ADA compliant? Yes, it will be ADA compliant. We have a copy of the plans here. We can work. You wanna look at it?
As long as everybody else gets to see it.
Okay, do I have any other comments on this end? in the meantime?
No.
I understand the need for a family and I have a hard time, saying no to it, right? Because I know the needs, I understand it, but we worked hard to get those square footages, right? I mean, we just passed two that fell in it, so there's a reason why we did it. And really, because we were doing some requests at 1,500 square feet, something like this, or 2,000 square feet, some of the houses probably sit in the neighborhood. So, and I think just by putting those in place is what kind of kept it to where we felt was a little more of a guest house, right? So, but I definitely understand the need for family and stuff, but I'm having a hard time with it just because, we have two previous applicants who were in compliance with it, and we haven't really had too many recently who are going over it because the square footage is, appropriate to the scaling of the house, right? So you're not the size of the house or doubles or half the size of the house that's on the property as it is. So it's having a hard time.
So, yeah, all right, so city council shall have the right to authorize deviations from the restrictions listed in this section, provided that such deviations must be specifically requested in the application you have for this guest house or church. Approved must be incorporated in the ordinance checking special report. So that's what's going on here. You've asked in excess of the 33% rule that we worked on. I don't think that we need to revisit this ordinance to put in there if there's a demonstrated hardship or medical need or anything like that. I think we're all reasonable people here. And I feel that's a reasonable ask. It's not grandiose. Even after the father ultimately passes down the road, it's going to become something other than what it already is. That's going to be a very nice structure to accommodate the man. So I don't have any problem with it, but I just want to highlight, I don't think we need to go back and adjust the ordinance to add language. I think that we're reasonable people and we have a reasonable request. And we see what it is.
Councilman Hall.
If it's ADA compliant.
Councilman Watson.
Yeah, I concur with Councilman Alexander. I'm deeply sympathetic to this, caring for family members. I'm trying to square there's not a lot of substance behind the request for the increase. So if the request was, we need the extra space because we have to add an extra bedroom, I don't know, I think I would have an easier time saying yes. I'm a yes at the number the ordinance supports, but.
So the request was made because of long-term potential issues with his health. He has 2 hips that have been replaced, and so accessibility for the wheelchair, especially for ADA compliant, is going to be important. And again, giving dignity and the ability to have functionality.
Sure. So at 717, you can't build the guest house to be ADA compliant.
Just based on his needs where he's at, it's already as a 1-bedroom dwelling that has a living, dining kind of combination, as well as his workroom area and then bathroom. So it's pretty tight because we've got to have 5-foot radiuses within the kitchen, 5 foot within the bathroom areas, as well as in the laundry and other facilities for him in case of long-term wheelchair accessibility. Along with compliance on door openings, those have to be 36 plus inches.
Might hang on to that.
Absolutely.
So I'm just reading the application. To me, it seems like it was erroneously plotted on the floor plan because you included the garage and the patios and the residential floor area, which gave you that number from 919. 990.
They originally asked us to put down the total square footage of the base slab. And
And
that's
so
what-
you'll put the total square footage of the base slab just to get the bigger.
No, they asked us what the total square footage was and asked us to put that on the survey, and that's what we did.
I got you. But if you did it the way it's supposed to work first time, it would have came out to this number that's 717. So would you still would have been able to do the guest house? You would have still moved forward with the guest house at the original number, or I mean at the updated number?
Oh, no, sir. The 3,000 square feet that you see on the site plan now is the total square footage, including
Right, it
all
includes the garage and the
common
patio, but
Right, yes.
it's this calculation is based off of residential floor area.
Yeah, 2174, I believe.
And so originally you would have gotten the 717 number
Correct.
if you would have done the calculation the way the code states.
Correct.
And so
We
with
asked for
that,
the increase.
right, you're asking now for the increase. Yeah, good. Okay. No, I completely understand your situation and I'm totally sympathetic. You know, I took care of my grandma for a long time. I understand. But you know, I mean, we gotta watch out. I represent everybody in the city, all the neighbors around the property and everything. And it's above the threshold that we hold everybody to a standard of the 33%, and it exceeds the threshold. And the fact of the matter is, after you're gone, that's gonna stay with the property. And so, it's a situation that works now, but 30 years down the line, I mean, it's gonna be a different story. So I think, I mean, looking at the floor plan, it seems like there's only a difference of 272 square feet. So, I think, I personally think it would still work ADA accessible at the 717, which, you know, so, I'm in favor of just approving it. I want to approve it, but keep it to our standard, you know, so.
Okay. So this is right up my alley. Okay, I'm a licensed nursing home administrator. And I've done assisted living for many years and done construction for parents who have stayed at home in place and aged in place. I understand all the codes and all the regulations for ADA compliance. Okay? I do not understand in what you have presented to us tonight what the difference would be in the 200 and so on feet. We have an ordinance in place and it's really hard for us to be able to deviate from that. Based on what Councilman Kravitz just say, we represent all of the city, not just one locale. By all means, bottom of my heart, I understand aging in place. That's what I did for many years. But if you go to an assisted living apartment, or you go to any of these nice apartments that they have for those that are aging in those areas, okay, and the nice ones, they range from 600 to 700 square feet, right? And they have all the ADA compliance that they need, right? So for me, it is important that we look at the city as a whole and as our ordinance as a whole. And although we understand this situation and what y'all are trying to do, we know that it can be done in the 717. I know that. Okay. And maybe the family feels that he needs to be in a bigger place, but that ordinance doesn't support what we have in our ordinances here in the city. So my thoughts on this would be that we go back and see if we can get it into the 717. By all means, we want to approve it, but to keep within our ordinances. Anybody else? Anything else on this? Anything on this?
Well, my mother's in an assisted living facility and she has about 800 square feet approximately. It's by no means extravagant. It's not tight in that regard, but she's in a wheelchair, so she can't really do much outside of that wheelchair. But at the same time, I don't see from my perspective, 990 is not really that much of a stretch. I understand.
All right, Mike, what do we have to do here? If we, does he have to go back to do a 717, or can we approve it at 717 and approve it for him tonight so they can move forward?
Yeah.
So that they don't lose any time or have to come back? Okay. All right, then I'm gonna make a motion that, we approve a special use, well, we don't have to do a special use permit, do we? Okay, okay, is it two parts? Okay, we're gonna approve a special use permit at 31244 Sunlight Drive, Liberty, Texas, 78163, to permit the use of a guest house. We're not amending the zoning ordinance.
The ordinance is already written, as drafted to approve SUP at the 717.
Okay, so
square
we
foot.
don't need to amend the ordinance,
Approve it as drafted.
and we'll approve it as drafted
Yes,
in the ordinance, okay? And that's all we have to do, correct?
that's correct.
So, I need a second on that, and then we'll,
Second.
we have a second, and we'll vote, all of those in favor?
Madam Mayor, point of order. We're required to hold a public hearing. Do you need to open and close that?
I have no comments on it.
Are we still required to open and close the public hearing?
Your attorney would say yes.
Yeah. That's semantics though.
Sorry,
We can
is
make
there
that
any comments on that at this point? On this item, reading? No? Okay, so we'll close that. And then, we have a first and a second on the motion, so we'll move for a vote. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all of those opposed?
Aye.
All right, moving on. We are on the three, discuss and consider the approval of an ordinance granting a variance to section 3.08.102A3 of the City of Liberty Code of Ordinances at 20779 State Highway 46, Liberty, Texas 78163. Repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
All right, Mayor and Council, this item was discussed at your last, planning meeting. The consensus of the council is that, if I remember correctly, was that you wanted a clearer demonstration of what was being proposed to be added and what was proposed to be removed. What you have in front of you is the signs that are currently authorized on the property that will be removed, including the monument sign that's out by the highway, I'm not sure what to call that, the little sign on top of the ATM, and the vinyl applique that's over the door on the south side of the building. If we go to Exhibit A, signs to be approved, if it's approved, they're proposing to add the larger sign B, the south elevation, and of course they'll have a sign on the HEB main tenant pylon. The applicant is here, I believe they have a presentation.
Evening, Mayor and Council, James McKnight. I do have a presentation, but we discussed everything last time, so I really just put this here in case you guys wanted any more discussion over the items themselves. But as Danny pointed out, the crux of it really was clearly what's there, clearly what we're requesting, clearly what would be removed. So removing the monument sign, removing the ATM surround, and removing the vinyl sign on the south side. Those were all part of Exhibit B. The ordinance now says to approve the sign on the south side of the building, will you remove everything in Exhibit B, which is those three things that I just stated. So again, I'm happy to go through any of the findings of fact that we discussed last time. I just wasn't sure if that was worth it or if we just wanted to stick to the Exhibit B discussion.
Okay, I went to Alamo Heights, go look at Chase across the street from Lincoln Heights, right there across from the HEB. That has a road that goes all the way around it, right? Because it's in that you know, it's in a triangle area, right? That building has two signs, one on the front and one on the street. I'm trying to understand why we need more signs than that here.
That's all we're asking for.
Two signs, in addition to what we already have.
No, just those two. We have one on the front, one on the rear. That would be it.
No, they have two signs total. They have one in the front and one at the street. Okay, that's it at that location. And that's a very busy location. I sat there and watched client go in after client go in. And so I'm really trying to see why we deviate from that here. Why can't we go back to the amount of signs that we have and that we want to have in our city? And we have many locations here that have two signs inside our city.
He's taking down all the other signs, he would only have two signs.
You know,
And I can't speak to that Lincoln Heights. I don't know the situation. What I can tell you is that on this here, the south side is what's facing the HEB, and there is a massive parking lot and a road between the two. So trying to get visibility, one of the things I did put in my presentation was the comments that we received from folks saying, we didn't know that was a chase. We can't see the signage. Who even knew that was there? We have those quotes there. It's a very different situation to come out of HEB and be over 400 feet away from that building that has no sign on the backside. So that's all we're asking for, is those two signs. One that you can see from the street, one that you can see from the HEB side.
Okay, so my understanding here is you're going to remove the tenant panel, the tenant panel that's out front, but you're going to add one to the HEB sign.
No, that's already there. The C that you see there is currently there already. It's permitted.
So A and C are here.
Correct, they're there.
Okay, and B. So you have three signs already in this
Yeah, that's
location.
right.
Go to the next one then with their. Next one.
Next one.
So we have two signs already, right? Correct, on this one?
No, this is what we're asking for.
They don't have this yet.
No, that's what we're asking.
Correct. I know, I'm adding them up.
Okay.
So these are gonna be the two signs that are here.
Right.
Go to the next one. Plus, we're gonna have, so you're gonna have A and B plus C, so now we have three signs. Right? Go to the next one. And is there an extra one that's being added?
No, that's it. Okay. The one is obviously for people who are driving in. One is for seeing the front of the building on the north side, and then obviously from the HEB side. It has to do with circumstances. We wouldn't be asking for this if the 25% 8-inch that we could do by code cannot be seen when you come out of that HEB store. That's the reason for this.
So Danny, by right, they can have the one on the HEB monument sign at the street.
Say that again.
By right, they can have the C already.
They don't need a permit. They don't need a permit.
They don't need a SUP for that.
They don't need a
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
it's a monument sign.
This just demonstrates what will be
Right,
there.
right. That's just what's gonna happen after, because they're removing the other tenant.
Councilman Watson, remind me, you drove over there last time. Wasn't there some signs, some little signs at the street, like, that 18 of this way?
No, I didn't see any. But I didn't go all the way down to the road.
Yeah, there was some that says 18 this way.
Do you have signs at the driveway?
I have directional signs.
Directional signage. We approved that the last.
So that's an extra sign, though, because
But
it's a
it's-
J sign, so
But it's directional.
I
It's,
understand. So now we're 4.
Yes, and
I think we made a distinction in
Yeah,
that
I don't-
conversation about directional signs, is my recollection, but.
and if you, I mean, and I brought examples of
Are these
how
signs
this is-
lit, Danny?
Yes. They're dark sky.
So they'll be on 24 hours a day. I mean, at night, excuse me,
Within
overnight.
the hours, yeah. That's the normal.
As I stated last time, some of the sign ordinance that tries to handle is clutter. Right, and so that's what we're trying to address here, is to say, we're not doing anything to clutter up. It's on the building, it's on the complete opposite side, it can only be seen from the
Right.
HEB.
Do
So,
you think the south elevation is more beneficial to have than all the other signs? Because it's basically,
that's right.
I get what you're trying to do.
So is there directional signage? I'm confused.
There is directional signage, but it's not, it just has the directions on it.
I believe it doesn't have a logo or anything on
I
it,
don't
right?
believe that. I'm relying on my memory, but I don't believe it. Generally speaking, we allow directional signage.
Because that was the compromise, right? That was the compromise when we had this conversation last year.
That's what.
You could have directional signage, but it couldn't be branded.
It's de minimis if it does.
Right.
And you couldn't see it from the HEB again.
Right.
You would see it as you're driving past.
Understood. I'm trying to answer the mayor's concern about how many signs we're actually talking about. So I think the directional signs are directional signs and not branded property signage.
Correct.
Is my recollection. I'm upset for you and for your client that the ATM is being pulled out because the whole argument the last time was that it was going to be too expensive to do that. And so, I mean, I feel bad that we didn't figure out a way to solve this. It's an expense.
And I wish we would have gotten it all right the first time. I don't think that everybody fully realized how much damage to the advertising it would do to not have that equal signage on the backside. And then after a year of opening, it was very clear.
Right.
So,
Do we have some assurance that there's not going to be a third round of these requests? I know nobody has a crystal ball.
most I can tell you is there is no appetite.
There's no appetite here either.
Danny, clarify, so what are we doing outside the ordinance? Outside the ordinance is the one sign.
So
The
the
extra-
ordinance allows you to have one primary sign, and then a secondary sign is only 25% of what the primary sign is. So I believe that would result in an 8 square foot sign on the south side.
Right.
If they followed that rule, which would be very small.
You're not,
We're just looking at,
wait,
yeah.
okay, so on the south elevation, so A is already there.
It is there facing 46.
Yeah, A should have been on B.
I'm sorry, can I ask a follow-up
So-
question for that?
Yes.
There is something in our ordinance though about secondary road frontage, is there not?
Well, it's not a road,
It's not.
it's a parking lot.
Technically, but we do have something in the ordinance
Oh, yeah,
that
if
speaks
you
to
have a
secondary
secondary
road.
and actual road, like a legal road, yes, you can have a primary sign on that.
As
frontage.
well.
Not always.
Okay,
And that was
it's private.
part of the arguments that I made before.
Understood.
It's effectively like a park.
So I think it's good faith on the city and good faith from you to remove all the extra signage and just add the B elevation at the same size as the front. I think that's fair. I think that's a good compromise and it's gonna help your business. So, and I mean, you know, you come out of HEB, you're in a hole there. So I don't know if you're even gonna feel the seed.
Yeah, I don't know that it's gonna
But-
do a whole lot of good.
But I think it's a step in the right direction. And I think this is what's presented here. If you get rid of all the other signage and you have the B elevation, I think that's perfectly fine with me. Look to approve that.
No, I can get by this now. I think you did a good job cleaning it up.
So we have 3 signs,
Yes, ma'am. Free sign.
and you're not coming back.
Not contact. No one need to see.
No.
I want to ask for the health of the business. I'm concerned about trading this sign, given that you're in a hole, for the monument signs that are actually at the corner there, right where the HEB. Isn't that where they are? Is that the HEB sign?
No, it's by itself.
It's by
It's
itself,
over
it's
by
like
the
by the
church.
tree.
Yeah,
Yeah, by the
by
church.
Understood. Okay, so there isn't any.
It's right in front of them.
Understood.
But they'll
Okay.
have C.
It's by
Okay.
itself.
Which they have that right to have a sign.
Good,
of the
sure,
street.
sure. No.
And that's going to be removed, that whole sign, it's just not gonna sit there empty.
We'll put blank faces in it. There'll be blank white faces in it. The instruction, everything will stay for whoever.
Right.
Give it to next, right? The
Right.
instructions grandfather. So it's just be a blank white.
Just
Yeah,
the signage, not the.
You don't want to pay to remove it. I understand.
The sign structure is allowed. It's just that they had too many given to Chase. That's why they did a variance to put a Chase sign there. They wanted to put a, forget the name of the piece of business.
Right.
Let's say they had extras, HEB can choose to give this sign to somebody else as long as they're not violating the number of signs.
I got it.
Okay. All right. Anything else? You make a motion?
No, I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we approve an ordinance granting a variance to section 3.08.102 sub A, sub 3 of the City of Woodbury Code of Ordinances at 20779 State Highway 46, Woodbury, Texas, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a severability clause, and establishing an effective date.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
3F. Discuss and consider approval of resolution creating city council committees and guidelines for the operation of the committees. Is this us doing this, or you can make a comment, Mike, or is it just us?
Mayor, I have no additional comments at this time.
All right, so let's,
Which one is that? Y'all don't
pass
need,
that out, if you had, you can pass it out before.
I can if I provide it to the.
So here's where we are gonna go with this. So our thoughts, or my thoughts on this, is that we go into this as we discuss this as being permanent committees. In actuality, these are temporary ad hoc committees. Okay. Where we feel about this is that we talked about having a legislative and infrastructure and a comprehensive plan committee, right? What we'd like, or where I think this should be, is that each committee would define its own goals, right? Define their goals. They would assign a chair and a subcommittee. Define their purpose, and then it's only a temporary ad hoc. So we really don't want to have all of those that you get nominated or you're on the committee for a year because it's only ad hoc for the time that it's needed, right? So it's not a standing, it's a select committee, ad hoc. Next part of that, my thought is that we have a liaison for each committee, as you suggested, Mike, and that would assist us with anything we need. We would also, whoever the chairman is and the or the designee of the committee would need to put together an agenda for the meetings and the date and times of those meetings. All right. Let's move on. Do you have any questions?
Be considered. I think city manager Astro was comment on this. I believe we have to trust our staff.
So some of the research that I've stumbled on these committees is that you start with a standing committee, and then they usually break it off to a subcommittee from that standing committee, which is a rotational, the state stays on a standing committee, which is like and I'll just use an example that was used today is education, right? So, and then they break down into the ad hoc subcommittees for a short period of time. So I think what we're trying to achieve all this has never been done. So trying to achieve, is the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish, right? So I think having the committees, as I stated before, is a step in the right direction. The standing committee, I think, helps set a basis to that, and then you can break it down in those subcommittees if needed to those for those quick moments, right? Where even if there's where I've seen some of the larger cities or even smaller cities or state where they could do like, that's why they do like a Senate committee where they do a quick hearing and we need to investigate this, and you can appoint that group to go and do that really quick if it's an issue that's pressing, right? But you can do it based off of the breakdown of the standing committee and create that subcommittee, right? So I'm trying to layer it up. We're a small city, small staff, and that gets very time consuming, but I think if we're going to do it right, we need to have that put together. And I think that with that, we can set the term limit, to expire at any time. What the little caveat would be is that the committee, if you have a standing committee, then we know, okay, we're going to be stuck on these standing committee items. But then the subcommittee can be the ad hoc committee to it, and that can expire at any time. So, and that's just kind of my research thought on that.
So you're saying subcommittees may be created to accommodate full committees charge?
Well, I mean, you look at the standing committees, right? I use education. This is on the state level, so it's not, we're not going to be an education committee here, but where we have financial committee, which is a standing committee, which can talk about even the audit before it even came to, we could have input in that audit, but that could have been an ad hoc committee specifically devoted or branched off of the finance committee to say, hey, we want to get your input on the auditing and what we think it needs to look like, what happened, where. Then we could have done some more reporting on that, but that could have been a really quick put together subcommittee that would have been branched off of financial standing committee. I'm just using that as an example. So I think we've got a basis here that we're starting to head in that direction, right? Not on the finance committee, but per se, but we're headed in the direction we're looking at, like the comprehensive plan. I mean, I think that should be a standing committee. That's just my gut, because we should always be looking at it, and then that could be branched off into different subcommittees as needed for an ad hoc committee. So at the time, because it's going to vary on the demands of the city and the growth. So if you look at your standing committee to set kind of the foundation of what we need to focus on all the time, which is going to be your budgets, your comprehensive plan, potentially. So just throwing those ideas out. But I think we're getting close to making it in the right direction. I don't think we're off, but we're just, it's so new to us that it's like, okay, what do we got to do to get this to work?
But
Councilman,
proposal when it's advisory only, we're still the ones.
There's no authority. Right. And that's correct. And that's what it should be. You advise it to council. Correct.
Councilman Hawkins.
Oh, wait.
Oh, I am so sorry.
All good. All right, so my homework assignment from last time was take this home, digest it, sleep on it. And I feel strongly that we need to incorporate some language in here that recognizes that these committees exist also in a virtual forum environment that could be facilitated by staff that would routinely check in on this TOMA compliant message board where files and ideas are exchanged, questions are posed, questions may not be answered, but there's meaningful dialogue that exists in this environment without having to call an actual meeting.
Councilman, did you forget that I got hacked? On the city website.
Well, I'm not talking about like an email, I'm talking about the existing cohorts that we have there. That's where we could launch all of our ideas, throw them on the wall, see what sticks, what doesn't make sense, or what we need to try at. And then we can then reach out to Mike and say, listen, I think we got enough to really justify a meeting where we bring sack lunch, you give us staff, and then we can put together something that is meaningful, bring to council, and maybe develop policy here. But as it stands, this is very good guidelines. I think it needs to be expounded upon and refined with some language for a hybrid virtual environment that is TOMA compliant. You are correct, and I am 100% on board with what you're talking about. Those are all very good examples. If you were to have standing committees, like 3, one like legislative or whatever, I would be willing to wear that hat and that star and be that guy. And if we realize that we are looking at something that's so granular that we need to sort of spin off subcommittees and bring in additional resources, say draw someone from a different standing committee to be a part of that subcommittee, that's cool too. I mean, we're all team here. I'd get behind that, but as it stands, if we're going to have the 3rd or 4th meeting to talk about calling meetings, it just gets a little gratuitous, and I think that there needs to be some language in here that discusses using the virtual environment to communicate with each other so that we have something of value to bring to council and discuss it. Dale, that.
No, you did good.
Gold star.
So, hey, to add to what Councilman Alexander and Goff were talking here. So I'm gonna just, for example, right? So let's say we have an infrastructure. We talked about having a legislative and infrastructure and a comprehensive plan, right? So let's say that you added transportation and infrastructure, okay? And this is how it could read. Transportation Infrastructure Committee shall review policy plans and programs designed to enhance connectivity and mobility of all kinds, including the city's capital improvement plans, congestion reduction programs, transit improvements, or other, this is transportation. But the committee will prioritize efforts to realize this Boulevardi's infrastructure that would enhance the city's competitive to attract advancement, whatever we needed to say, right? But then it gives you an idea of what you're doing, and then you have your people that are involved in that, working in that. So if something were to come up inside that, let's say that we need, in just an example, that you would need a parkway somewhere, or we have a major problem at 281 in 1863, then that committee would actually study and see what the plans could be and what would happen in that area, correct? I mean, I think that's what our thought process has been of what these committees would do, correct? And so I know Councilman Hawkins down here has some items that he wants to add to that, that would be very helpful to what we already have.
So I believe we have 12 items here that are guidelines that Mike put together for us. I did not come up with a need for any additional guidelines, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't any. I did, however, find that on the majority of these things, I felt like they needed to be modified in order for me to support them to some extent. So if we are going to use these guidelines as the guidelines for our committees, in order for me to support this, I'll need to make some modifications. Otherwise, I will not be in favor of these guidelines as written. Our approach to this could be, we can look at these individually, one by one, go through them until we have an approval, or we can each take, or probably not available, have the ability to do it at this meeting, but we could take marked up copies, move them around with each other to try to come to something. My thought would be we try to hash this out.
Yeah, because time's passing.
Can we do it on Pro Boards?
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So I have those items that I'm in favor of making changes to in each of these 12 items. And I'm willing to discuss them if we are wanting to go through each of these at some point.
Madam Mayor, would this be appropriate for a workshop or a work session?
Yes. Yes. Can we do it, when's our next?
Thursday.
No, our next,
August the 11th is our next regular council meeting.
would y'all be opposed to doing it prior to our council meeting? Since we're already gonna be here. I want you,
That's my evaluation, so you'll be good and frustrated with me when it comes time for my evaluation.
Okay, Councilman Watson.
I'm in the same boat, as Councilman Hawkins. I am, intensely in favor of establishing these committees. The guidelines has already caused me some heartburn. I have passed out my suggested revisions to them. We can go through it item by item tonight, as far as I'm concerned, because my understanding after the last meeting that that's precisely what we were gonna do tonight. And it was the reason for kicking it to tonight. So I'm prepared to discuss it, and I would hope that we would take the time to do that.
Councilman Kravitz.
Yeah, I mean, we're already here. Might as well have an in-depth discussion. I mean, it's only 7:59.
I know, we're just receiving this from this point, so we have not had time to review this to be able to discuss it.
Well, Ted's got a list, Francesca's got a list, you
Everybody-
have a list.
No, I mean, nobody's,
We've had Exhibit A for 2 weeks.
yes.
Everybody should have shown up with some thoughts about it. So
Yeah. I mean, you'll know it. I think it's very overambitious of what we're expecting to get out of these subcommittees. So, I mean, I'm just gonna let y'all hash this out and I'll chime in at the end.
This city paper or your paper?
that's my paper.
Debbie.
Thank you. Only the best.
Okay, let's down top. We need to get these committees set up. Obviously, there is a concern with the 12 guidelines by the majority of council here. My thought would be that if we had a workshop where everybody had their ideas brought, we could take them to the wall and do a workshop and everybody get a consensus of what needs to happen. Because if we don't, we need to go through each one of these 12 items and or add items to each one of these to change this Exhibit I, which are just guidelines. Okay.
Respectfully, Madam Mayor, that was precisely the justification for moving to this subject to tonight. That was precisely the justification at the last meeting for moving this matter to tonight.
How do we do this, Mike? Do we have a plan that we're gonna do this? Do we write it all down? We got some paper, we can write this down, put it on the walls and see what we're gonna vote on. I mean, it's more gonna be like a workshop.
Yeah, we're not necessarily prepared for the full strategic planning work session, work group thing this evening.
But Mike also has no direction as to the next meeting, besides set up a workshop where we can brainstorm ideas.
Okay. Let's hear what everyone wants to do. Councilman Brown?
Well, since we couldn't elaborate, while we when we sat on this and adjusted Exhibit A, it would be prudent to do just that.
Councilman Oshie.
I mean, I'm prepared if we want to digest it tonight, we can digest it tonight. Is it,
What would be your plan for that?
sorry,
What would be your plan for that?
well, we're not prepared to do it in one way that you mentioned. I think that's an effective way. If we were gonna do, you know, post-its and do edits, and you know, that's very complicated, even reading, you know, the changes on this is hard. It's not, you know, red line or anything, so just trying to agree to a consensus is gonna be a challenge. But if we wanna do that tonight, I don't know, it may be more work than one night, one evening, maybe a couple of workshops, to be honest with you. That's just my thought though.
Councilman Goff?
I mean,
Councilman Hawk?
I think I'm prepared to start with item 1 and work my way through it until we are, either come to agreement we can't get it all done tonight. So we'll push more of it off until next time, or we come to an agreement that we can't get it done without a workshop. But I think we should at least take a start and find out which of these items we all agree are okay as written, because some of them are, and what changes need to be made to the others to make them more compatible with the goals that we have for ourselves.
Councilman Watson?
I've made my position clear.
Councilman Quick?
We're already here, you ought to just start working on it until we can't no more, and then move to end discussion if we don't get through it.
We have some whiteboards?
Yeah, start with Ted and you can, do this.
Can we not pull the document up here and edit it in real time?
Why don't we do that?
you have
You
your
have
file.
the package.
What's that, you have your file?
Yeah, can edit it 3 days apart. It actually doesn't, but I can hand out my notes to people on the dais for us to discuss.
So we can marry a copy of things.
All right, so hold up a minute, because before we go here, I'm going to move something in front of us real quick before we continue with 3F. Can I do that? And I'm going to public comments not related to posted agenda items, because we have a speaker, Mr. Mara Brown, that would like to have some public comment.
Thank you kindly. I'll keep it brief, I promise. It's Marlon Brown. We have been residents for 7 years. And the topic is right of way and visibility. And this photo on top shows an area on my street where the foliage grows right down to the edge of the pavement, almost a couple inches shy. To my certain count, I have a window that faces on the street from my home office. And I count at least 4 children that pass this spot every day. At least once a day, and some of them twice. And as you can surmise, they have to step out into the street to pass. And this is not the only place like this in the city. The city has done a great job, and I commend you all for clearing, starting the work to clear the right of way, but it's not your job. It's the job of the homeowners. There's an ordinance, there's several ordinances in this little packet. And I didn't number the pages, but
Article 3.10.162. The person in control of the property shall maintain clear vision areas to facilitate safe multimodal traffic flows. And other ordinances speak to this as well. So wanted to submit a motion that doesn't have to be acted on tonight. Feel free to table it. I know y'all want to get to your discussion. And the motion is in the packet, which is to start a little enforcement move. I have an action plan that details steps to do that. Shouldn't be too costly. I think this can be done, and I'm willing to be instructed by our esteemed city manager, but it seems like this should be able to be done mostly with staff time and with just a few hundreds of dollars of actual expense. So give them a notice, 20 seconds, give them a notice, give them till the end of this year to comply, clear the right of way. If they don't, give them a second notice, and if they still don't, do the work and send them a bill. Thank you.
I see Mike's hand moving, so your work is being.
Sorry?
I see Mike's hand moving. Means he's documenting this, so appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
Okay, who's ready to read that?
Say, like, move on.
All right. All right, so we're gonna go start this by one. We'll go, each one makes comments. And, we'll all vote on it. So this will be a voting process. Okay. It is understood that the committee is advisory on, the committee shall make recommendations to the city council for final action on those matters pertaining to public business or public policy. Final decisions regarding such matters are the exclusive purview of the city council. Councilman Brown.
I have no changes to recommend.
Councilman Alexander.
Can you come back to me? You do have some comments on that one.
Councilman Goff.
I like it.
Councilman Hawkins.
I'm okay with this.
Councilman Watson. No changes. Councilman Rhodes.
No change.
We're 8% of the way through.
Let's go. Let's keep going.
Wait. So I motion that we accept item number 1, the guidelines regarding committee formation and actions. Do I have a second? Okay, all of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make it sweet.
Okay. 2, at the first meeting of the committee, at the first meeting of the committee shall define its scope and mission to the extent possible. The committee shall also define the specific deliverables to be produced by the committee for presentation to city council. Councilman Brown.
No comments.
Councilman Goff. Alexander.
Yeah, I would say I'd like to add to their it's in there. I apologize. The deliverables. No further comments.
We'll say that Jessica highlighted in very important detail that these need to be a decision of the council what their mission is. Because this could get rabid. This could be, they could have any mission whatsoever. Mine could go on all the hypothetical candidates. But I think that per ad, the proposed scope of mission shall be submitted to the city council for approval and shall not take effect until, I think that is a wise and prudent statement for that.
So this is one of the reasons we need to have a workshop. If we're gonna add these items, they're gonna have to be looked on for each one. Okay, so Councilman Hawkins.
I agree with that comment, and I also would like to add that, in the event that the committee is unable to completely define its scope and its mission, that it, any subsequent meetings until such time as the scope and the definition is completed before the committee begins any business. So the committee should define its scope, its agenda, needs to be, come back to the council, but it needs to be done before the committee starts.
Councilman Washington.
So I concur with Councilman Goff and Hawkins. My proposed addition to this is included in the documents that I passed around. For the record, I will read the addition of the proposed scope and mission shall be submitted to the city council for approval and shall not take effect until approved. A committee may propose amendments to its approved scope and mission at any time, subject to the same approval.
Councilman Kramer.
No comment on that. We ought to make a sweeping motion at the end, in case we need to go back and change something or review what we've written down.
No, because now we gotta agree to two, so you're gonna have to separate, you go,
Well, let's
So,
just come
on
back at
two-
the end and then approve the changes as written.
because we have three different comments there, we need to go ahead and figure out what it's gonna say before we move on. So, at the first meeting of the committee shall define its scope and mission to the extent possible. The committee shall also define the specific deliverables to be produced by the committee for presentation to the city council. So, define the specific deliverables to be produced by the committee for presentation to city council is not something they're going to be able to do if they're reviewing our comprehensive plan. So I think we need to
possible.
review the comprehensive plan is what you're gonna say, because you're gonna review the whole thing, so you're not gonna have, define the specific deliverables. You're never gonna be able to do that.
We can define our scope and mission, however.
Well, then we need to change all that wording on there.
No, it already says that.
The committee shall also define the specific deliverables to be produced by the committee for
To the extent possible.
And so what happens when you're on an infrastructure and it changes?
I'm sorry, I
And
don't
now it's
understand
not
the question.
something that you presented.
Are we talking about deliverables or are we talking about scope and mission? So to the extent possible, the committee shall define specific deliverables. To the extent possible gives plenty of room. And the committee can come back to council at any point and say, and should in fact come back to council and say, these things have come up and we need to add the following deliverables to our work product.
So this is not enough word, the council should define the mission of the committee. Not at the first meeting of the committee shall define its scope and mission. So we need to rewrite that.
Is that
So
not
what is
covered
the
by
right-
the proposed change? The proposed scope and mission shall be submitted to the city council for approval and shall not take effect until approved.
At the first meeting of the committee shall define its scope and mission. You're
I
saying
changed-
council is going to define it.
No, I changed this to say, at the first meeting of the committee shall draft a proposed scope and mission. To the extent possible, the committee shall also define specific deliverables to be produced by the committee for presentation to city council. The proposed scope and mission shall be submitted to the city council for approval and shall not take effect until approved. A committee may propose amendments to its approved scope and mission at any time, subject to the same approval.
So if something comes up between council meetings, and it's important for infrastructure, and they need to work on it quick, and they don't have time to go to council, how we
Example of what they. You give an example.
an example that, our grid goes down. Whatever, it's part of the infrastructure, these things we need to think about. You know, you don't have time to do your next council to get it even on the agenda.
Would not the scope of the committee include addressing emergency matters?
We already got emergency guy there.
And we've got an emergency plan for the city. I mean, I can't think of a single, yeah.
I'm just using it as an
I know, I'm just trying to figure out what we're trying to achieve here.
I don't get too granular about the fact that it needs to be a general. Yeah, but that's life.
This will be two. If we write it and close it, then we can't use it. Okay, how do y'all want this to read? Councilman Alexander, you want to motion?
Are we on board with this? We have any opposed with it?
I'm good with two of the changes we have on.
Yep.
On the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, but we need the changes, how's it gonna,
No, we're just basically.
the only,
Adjusted or offered.
so we're gonna add that to two.
And we would change in that initial sentence, this committee shall draft a proposed scope and mission.
So when we get this, if the rest of council is not happy with the definition that they put in there,
Council makes changes. Council makes
then
decisions.
the council doesn't make the changes, then it goes back to the committee to make the change.
Council either approves this change.
At the end of the day, council gets the say.
Comments, guys?
No.
Comments on this here? Right, I need a motion, a motion.
I make motion that we adopt paragraph 2 with the revisions that. Oh, you want me to read
You
them?
have to read what the one to say.
I make motion that we adopt paragraph 2 as written. The first meeting of the committee shall draft the proposed scope and mission to the extent possible. The committee shall also define the specific deliverables to be produced by the committee for presentation to the council. And the proposed scope and mission shall be submitted to the city council for approval and shall not take effect until approved. The committee may propose amendments to its approved scope and mission at any time, subject to the same approval. Do I have a second?
And I second. Second.
Who do you have a second?
Well, I heard Mr.
I
Hopper
go for
first,
it.
because he's on my
All
side.
those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on. 3, at the first meeting of the committee shall designate a chair. I have a motion for that.
Yeah, I'll second that.
No need to make the motion. Okay, I'll make the motion that at the first meeting of the committee shall designate a chair. Okay, now you can second.
I second.
All those in favor?
I believe it needs change.
Okay, we have a motion on the table, so hold on.
Right.
Go ahead.
That's a discussion.
Go to your discussion.
Motion second.
Okay,
You can have a discussion after.
I think that the committee should either designate a chair or the committee should designate a process by which the committee will be chaired. Could be a rotating chair. The same person doesn't have to chair it all the time. Or a process by which the meeting minutes will be recorded, i.e. a rotating chair amongst members. So that the committee may have rotating responsibility, but all of the functions of the committee would be done by a designated person, whether they rotate or not. It would be known that one person doesn't necessarily assume all the responsibility being the chair. Now, the committee may decide that it doesn't like that, or the committee might decide that it does. I think they should have latitude to decide.
So now you're gonna have to put it to vote. If it fails or passes, you have to make another motion to amend that.
This question's dead.
Well, there's a second. You're gonna vote.
Okay, so the responsibilities don't fall for Councilman Hawkins. Because the chair, where your chair shall be responsible for setting, is on 4. This is just 3 at the first meeting of the committee shall designate a chair. They need to have a chair. And then 4 can be added to what you were just talking about.
So I
Yes.
included some comments about meeting notes a little further down. Maybe the thing to do is to table this until we have a conversation about record keeping.
Yeah, I would agree that as long as there's some flexibility inside of the committees about how the responsibility is allocated amongst the members of the committee.
Well, you can have a chair
Right.
and a
Yeah, exactly.
sub-chair.
Yeah, we could. Yeah. So all those responsibilities are going to be delegated amongst the people in that committee. And I want to make it flexible and not encumber upon one person that ends up being chair and it ends up
So,
more work than the other committee members by virtue of the fact.
so can we add at the first meeting of the committee shall designate a chair and sub-chair? On number 3.
Vice chair.
Or whatever.
Whatever is appropriate. I think you understand my point.
And that's why I was saying, can we add that to
Right,
4?
yeah. And
Other
any
responsibilities further
might
down.
find yourself in that position where you want the flexibility to be able to do something potentially a little different if necessity. So that was my only thought there. I'd give the committee a little bit of flexibility in terms of its structure, not in terms of its responsibilities, goals, or objectives, but in terms of the responsibilities that people might
The most flexibility comes from unwritten. So, let you know that.
Yeah.
You live in the gray, make rainbows happen, all right? I'm just
Yeah,
throwing it out
I hear you, Chris.
Okay, going back, so 3, do we go back and we put just at the first meeting of the committee shall designate a chair and sub-chair?
We have to amend the motion. I think you can amend the motion.
That's, yes, I'll amend that motion.
Don't you have to do that before there's a second?
No,
We have a second.
because it hasn't been voted on.
But we have a second, right, Mike?
You do have a second, but if you want to make a friendly amendment or mayor, if you wish to make an amendment,
Yes.
it would be in order at this time. And you would need the approval of the second to go along with that.
Okay, so we're gonna make this at the first meeting of the committee shall designate a chair and sub-chair.
And does the second go along with that?
I dig it.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 4, the chair shall be responsible for setting the time of the committee meeting. Chair shall preside over the conduct of the committee meeting. I had something that I wanted to add to this, that the chair or just sub-chair shall be responsible for setting an agenda and time of the committee meeting. The chair or sub-chair shall preside over the conduct of the committee meeting.
I have an issue with that only because I don't think every meeting should require an agenda. I think if the goal is transparency, if the goal is transparency, these are mostly going to be working meetings, and an agenda that says we had a working meeting may read as less transparent than just providing meeting notes after the fact as part of the monthly report to council.
Would recorded minutes, be sufficient for that end?
I don't think if we have a officially called meeting, we're required to have minutes. We're not a governmental body in that regards under the statute. So meeting notes of some kind, this is what we discussed, these are the action items, here's who's handling them, something simple that creates transparency about the conversations.
I think it's respectful to everybody who's in the committee to know what they're going to talk about, so that they can be prepared. So that's the idea of having an agenda. Now, do you stick on your bottom of your agenda and other items that may come up? By all means, if it's on your agenda, then you're going to make your notes on it. But I think it's just out of respect that each committee member knows what they're talking about or what's coming up on the agenda.
So again, working meetings generally have action items for the next meeting. And I would say that that's probably, for the first meeting, you're going to want to have some agenda. But for subsequent meetings, working meetings now, to make a distinction between different kinds of meetings. Working meetings would, I think, come up with action items on their own as part of that conversation.
Comments down here?
Paragraph 4, the appropriate place to put my plug for working meetings may be accomplished in a virtual environment, virtual TOMA compliant virtual environment. I think that's all I really.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
we can't share flexibility
Yep.
in virtual meetings.
Nowhere on here does it say where your meeting has to occur. And after COVID, Zoom, or however you do it, is standard.
But nowhere in here also is the definition of what a meeting.
The virtual meetings also have the benefit of being reportable for greater transparency and record keeping.
That would.
Right, Freedom of Information Act. If committee is discussing something and later is brought up that they need freedom, I don't know which one of you know better on this, Freedom of Information Act, all of those notes are discoverable, correct?
Correct.
So anything you write down or you take, you have to release freedom of information.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of this, right? Yeah.
That's why I do it. Yeah.
No better place to be objective, like document, than like the first environment.
Just so.
We need to just copy and paste, screenshot it, and everyone just needs to be very mindful of that.
Comments on this end? Councilman Hawkins, is this where you wanted to add your item?
Yeah, all I wanted to do is just go back to number 3, referencing back to the ability of the committees to be able to maneuver themselves. Basically, I don't know.
What do you mean maneuvers?
Well, I brought the point up in number 3, but I mean the flexibility of roles is.
Well, here, that's why I was gonna put it 4, that's what I said, because it says
Right, that's-
responsibilities.
Right, but. So.
You have to have a chair just because.
Yeah, I know,
somebody has to be responsible. But I understand what you're saying about sharing.
Productive meeting always has a leader. That's, I found that always to be true.
I don't know if you can hold.
But it
some of
doesn't
these-
need to be the same leader all the time. Those roles can be flexible inside.
But the committee can decide that, hey, hey, Ted, you're gonna lead this part.
Right.
I don't see that that's a problem or something that we need.
As long as we're all on the same page, I just don't
In
want to
this
see
committee over here,
somebody feels like, okay, I get nominated to be the chair, now I've got the motion. That's what I want to know. Roles and responsibilities of the committee need to be shared, not just keep on the chair.
well, you can't, I don't know how we would impose that on each person, because each person, if they don't wanna do it, then they're not gonna do it. It doesn't matter
Understood.
if you're at work, play, whatever.
I know, it was just a concern I wanted to get out.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay, so the chair will be responsible for setting the time and the agenda for the committee meeting. I am. Where did we go here?
I would oppose an agenda for a meeting. If I may, in connection with that, just ask everyone to look at my number 5 and 6 on the document I handed out, which speaks to meeting notes and the difference between a meeting with staff, which would be by necessity a more formal meeting, which would include an agenda. I think to Councilman Hawkins' point, providing some flexibility for the committees would be useful. My concern, frankly, is that if we have 5 agendas that say simply working meeting of the committee, that could read to somebody outside the workings of the committees as less transparent than meeting notes from working meetings and agendas for actual meetings with staff where more substantive work is perhaps being done.
Mike, what is your thought?
I'm just listening right now.
Mike's gonna have to review all of this before the next meeting.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, that's my thought. I've heard some good changes to it and some good recommendations for changes, but
You know, we were talking about staff involvement and, you know, the resources on that. That's 5 meetings or 4 meetings for the committee meetings that they go to, the public notice, recordings, minutes.
well, actually, we're not doing recordings for the committee meetings. I mean,
Committee meetings don't need to be publicly noticed.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, we just talked about Zoom meetings being recorded, we just talked about the PIA, Public Information Act, so, I mean.
Meeting notes would be accessible through a public information request.
yes.
But we are not, a committee would not be a governmental body in the sense that we would have to submit an agenda or notice 3 days in advance or any of that, because it has no quasi judicial, that's the criteria, quasi judicial or determination authority. Neither of those things apply to the committees. So we're actually saving work by setting it up 3 or less. The flip side of that, creating transparency, is making sure that there are meeting notes included in the monthly report to council, so that it's very clear what sorts of things were discussed, what action items are coming out of those committee meetings. And again, a recommendation, we'll have a liaison with staff, but those staff members do not need to be present at every meeting and shouldn't be, in my opinion.
Like, Toma.
Yes. So if, say, we have a succession of working meetings and we get to the point now where we've got to sit down with staff, are we on the right track? Are these reasonable concerns? Now is the point where we need some guidance and input. We write up all of those questions, we send them to Mike and the liaison and say, we would like to set up a meeting to discuss these items. Now there's an agenda. We're following the process of setting up the access to staff with the city manager, which we're required to do by our code of ethics. Again, still not required to notice that meeting because there's no decision-making authority granted to the committee. And there are, what's the word I'm looking for? The prerogative of the city manager to say, this is too much to do in one meeting, or we need more time to work on researching this, or however that works. Again, transparency being the point. And all of that would be reported to council in the monthly report.
Comments? Anything? Somebody make a motion.
I'm consolidated.
Well, that's, somebody needs to put it together. Again, it's not on me.
I make a motion that we accept 4 as written.
As written.
To exclude the and agenda.
So as written in the original exhibit A.
In your original.
Second.
So do I need to read that as part of the motion? Is that what the decision was?
Yes, I believe so.
The chair shall be responsible for setting the time of the committee meeting. The chair shall preside over the conduct of the committee meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Five, the city manager shall designate a staff liaison to the committee. Comments down here? Comments down here?
Sorry, go ahead, Ted.
I'd like to change that to designated staff liaison to be available to the committee for consultation as required by the committee.
That means they're on the hook.
That means that we know we have a contact point.
This meeting takes place on 7 o'clock at night, or they expect that?
No.
They are not. I'm proposing to add working meetings of the committee do not require the attendance of city staff and do not require an agenda.
I mean, ultimately, I think and I may be wrong, but I think the point of your note there was that it still has to go through you, and that you're going to designate that person, right? So for that committee, and we can say, hey, thanks, Mike, we don't need them today, or we may not have any questions, right? So,
I mean, it's, as I wrote that, my intent, my legislative intent, if you will, was to have the staff liaison present for each of the committee meetings. as a resource.
Based on the agenda, that may or may not be necessary. I don't know.
I'm not persuaded that staff needs to be present for every meeting, and I
I
think
don't think they
as
do.
long as there's a mechanism to request staff presence at a meeting, I think we've said 3 days and a list of questions, and so that it's clear what the agenda is.
Right. There's no need to be any more burdensome to staff. What is required.
Well, but the flip side of that is if the committee can't meet to do research or kind of hash through subject matter because staff's not available, that just delays the work of the committee.
Well, let me say this in terms, I want to get this out in terms of availability of staff or in terms of after hours, whatever is necessary. We'll be there. No brags about hours. We're here tonight. No brags about being available or not available. I really, please don't let that be one of your reason and your guidance. I mean, we serve you as a council.
That's true.
And we're
But
prepared
you're also important to us, and we don't want you following. If we go off on a long goose chase, I don't think you need to follow us. We'll come back.
Yeah, I don't want that to be a limitation upon the committee.
And it's not. It's not. It's just we value your time.
And we appreciate that. And we do appreciate that.
Anybody else?
So I make a motion to change paragraph 5 to read, the city manager shall designate a staff liaison to be available to the committee for consultation as required by the committee. Working meetings of the committee do not require the attendance of city staff and do not require an agenda. That kind of what you said, I'm sorry. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
To be able to the committee for consultation?
Yeah.
I would just add to be available at the very beginning of that, Sandra. Yeah. That's my motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moving on, 6. The staff liaison should work with the chair to ensure that an agenda is published for each committee meeting. The agenda for each committee meeting shall be distributed to members no later than 3 business days prior to the meeting.
I think given the acceptance of the previous paragraph, this is a moot point. Agendas for meetings with staff are addressed in a subsequent paragraph.
So are you suggesting that we strike it?
Yes. I have two paragraphs recommended that I think address these upcoming my 5 and 6. 5, meeting notes shall be prepared for every committee meeting, recording the date, the members present, a summary of matters discussed, and any action items, including the person to whom each action item is assigned. Notes shall be prepared by the chair or by a member designated by the committee. Committee notes are records of the city subject to the city's records management plan and the Texas Public Information Act. My paragraph 6, I think, addresses the issues raised by the city manager for 6 and 7. My paragraph 6 reads, questions for city staff shall be aggregated by the committee into a proposed agenda for a meeting to be coordinated by the city manager or through the staff liaison designated by the city manager for that committee. The agenda for each such meeting and the resulting meeting notes shall be included in the committee's monthly report to city council. Attendance of the city attorney and or city engineer will require additional time for notification and must be arranged through the city manager.
What's the temperature here? Do we want your roof paragraph 5 good?
I think we would keep it 5, this was 6, right?
We're looking at 6.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's it.
yeah, I think, yeah. Okay, we're striking that 6.
And I will motion, we strike paragraph 6.
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seven, chair shall strive to provide adequate advance notice of all committee meetings to the designated staff liaison. This ensures meeting space is available and staff resources, if required, can be coordinated. Attendance of the city attorney and or city engineer will require additional time for notification. It must be arranged through the city manager. Comments down here, please?
That one needs to be addressed. So, it kind of goes back to, I mean, we talked about that on 5, I think.
No, I read all of that to provide context for what I was recommending, but my 6 would replace this.
Yeah. This is to protect Mike.
This is to protect everybody.
No, I guess, but Mike is letting us know, hey, don't come in here on Thursday at 5 and say we're having a meeting in 30 minutes.
Exactly.
That's why he wrote it that way. Appropriately, leave it that way.
I agree.
So Chris, can you take a look at my 6 and tell me if that answers your concerns?
It's so many words, it does. But this is the way he wanted it written, so I think give it to him the way he wrote it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with it. I mean, those are gonna, the attorney is gonna be doing some notice.
Motion.
I make a motion that we keep paragraph 7 as written.
I second.
That's on second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It says. Eight, thou shalt strive to provide timely responses to requests for information from committee members. Requests involving extensive research or staff effort shall be forwarded to the city manager. The city manager reserves the right to bring extensive work product requests to city council for consideration for the full body.
I like Francesca better.
My 6. Is that what you're talking about?
No, somebody was sick, physical paragraph 8.
My paragraph 8. Council members who are not on the committee shall not attend committee meetings.
As written, replace what you wrote, paragraph 8. I know it's kind of disjointed.
Yeah. Questions for city staff shall be aggregated by the committee into a proposed agenda for a meeting to be coordinated by the city manager. Is that the one you're talking about?
We just approved 7, so that one.
We already gave Mike his paragraph.
I'm trying to understand which one you're saying you like.
We already gave Mike his paragraph, protect him, so we don't have to get so granular. questions and blah, blah, blah.
He said he liked my paragraph for this, and I'm just trying to figure out which one he's
Your
talking
physical
about.
paragraph eight, your physical paragraph 8 as written on your document.
Says council members who are not on the committee shall not attend committee meetings or meetings between the committee and city staff.
Get rid of on my screen 8, replace with Francesca. Right, 8, replace with Francesca.
No, you can't.
Because that's
number
not-
8 is an item.
My 8 is addressing
Number 9.
Oh, okay, I see it snuck up on the screen.
Yeah.
And I said, we.
You're on the wrong part.
Why would you strike 8?
Because we already gave him that paragraph 7.
You
Protect Mike and the staff.
Yeah, 7.
The heavy hand of.
No, it's different.
It is different.
You need 8.
Yes,
I don't have a problem with 8.
If it goes how I think it's gonna go.
I'm gonna make
Eight.
a motion that we keep number 8, staff shall strive to provide timely responses to requests for information from committee members. Requests involving extensive research or staff efforts shall be forwarded to the city manager. The city manager reserves the right to bring extensive work product requests to city council for consideration for the full body. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstaining? Did you vote? Aye, okay.
Shoulder.
All right, keep it number 8. Number 9, council members who are not on the committee shall not attend committee meetings. Assuming full attendance of committee members, the attendance of a non-committee councilor will create a quorum of council, thus necessitating the posting of a city council agenda and triggering additional requirements under the Texas Open Meeting Act. I think we should leave that one very clear and very state-worthy about that, including number 9. Yep. I make a motion that we keep number 9 as is.
I have an issue with 9.
Huh?
I have an issue with 9.
Let me hear it.
I'd like for us to consider the possibility of alternates.
We can't.
You can't.
We can't.
So,
And there's a, and there's, because it's a walking forum, and we have another issue also with respect to this. This only works if we really are siloed in these meetings. Having the same committee members, I'm thinking specifically on comprehensive plan and infrastructure, creates the potential for a walking forum just by virtue of those two people attending a meeting for each committee. It's going to be very hard. Those are related subjects, and it's going to be very, very difficult for those committee members not to bring conversations and research from one committee meeting into another.
It's true.
And so I think having two, and this is absolutely nothing against Councilman Alexander or, I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Alexander or Councilman Kraywitz, but I think that's asking a lot. And so I think we need to mix up it's a real danger, inadvertent, but could create a walking forum on matters where there's some overlap.
There's always going to be overlap, doesn't matter which committee you're working on.
I think in this instance, these two are so closely
Because
related.
if you're talking about infrastructure, legislative is going to, in part on top of that, your comprehensive plan is going to impart on what your infrastructure plans are for the future. They all overlap.
It's just a walking forum.
They all overlap. Doesn't matter which one you're on. Legislative and government is going to overlap over everything. There's no.
I'm
I don't know how you
I'm mentioning it as a cautionary. This only works if we're really strict.
I see what you're saying. I mean, you're not wrong. There's overlap.
I mean, you
But-
can look
but
at,
there's
let's
still-
look at San Antonio. Spears is on 3 different committees. She's on 3 different committees. She's on governments, and I think she's on traffic and something else.
Again, listen, I'm not saying, we have a limited number of people, and so there's gonna be, I'm
just saying she's on 3 different committees that overlap.
I mention it as something we need to be mindful of.
I think the mission for both of them are different.
Right, but if there's discussion in one, that is germane to something that is being discussed in another, that committee member is duty bound not to bring that discussion into this committee meeting, because that's what creates the quorum. Now, we can ask Matt, there is a pre-deliberation communication exception to that. And given that these are non-decision making bodies, there may be some room there, but it's a potential pitfall, and I wanted to mention it.
Okay, so back to, we have a motion to keep number 9. And we need a second on that. Oh, wait a minute. Councilman Hawkins, did you have something you wanted to say down there? You got interrupted.
Well, it sounds like my idea about alternates got over.
Then we have a quorum. So sick.
Okay, Craig is seconding, keeping number 9. Okay, all of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
10, the chair shall provide an oral update of committee activities at the first regular city council meeting of the month. This responsibility should not be delegated to the staff liaison. I think this should say a committee member shall provide an oral update, because if the chair is not there, or chair or sub-chair, somebody from that committee, if there's only 3 people,
Agreed.
it should be a committee member shall provide an oral update, don't put it on the chair in case.
The chair, vice chair, or delegated
Yeah, because
committee member.
they may not be there. They may be gone, they may be on vacation.
So I have one addition to this.
And then Councilman Hawkins, you had something that you wanted to add there for the responsibility? Did that clear that up by saying it's not the chair's responsibility?
No, I was okay with this. So, but I agree with this change.
Okay. Y'all have comments down here? No comments down here?
Yes. I have an outstanding paragraph regarding meeting notes in the absence of minutes. So it's my paragraph 5. Meeting notes shall be prepared for every committee meeting, recording the date, the members present, a summary of the matters discussed, and any action items, including the person to whom each action item is assigned. Notes shall be prepared by the chair or a member designated by the committee. Committee notes are records of the city subject to the city's records management plan and the Texas Public Information Act. I think that those meeting notes should be part of the monthly report to council, in much the same way that staff reports include a written report and an oral report with an opportunity for questions to be asked.
I'm not in agreement with that. No, meeting notes should not be but you're going to present to council. You're not presenting your meeting notes. That's like doing your homework and presenting how you got your homework.
How is that different? How staff provides us with a monthly report?
Because they're going to give you a monthly report of what they were doing for meeting notes. Because I may write A, B, C, D, E, F, G on my meeting.
I'm not asking you to submit your meeting notes. I'm saying meeting notes should be prepared for each meeting in lieu of minutes. Meeting notes should be prepared for each meeting. We met on this date.
If we do not have an agenda.
We met on this date. It was a working meeting. Here's what we covered. Here were the action items that were that fell out of that working session. And here's what was assigned to them.
Yeah.
No, this is a working committee. They're working on different things. There's going to be things that aren't ready for council to be put out there in public. That's not a good idea.
I like the oral update.
That's satisfying.
Yeah, that's not.
I pose questions like, what happens if you don't?
I think it's a transparency issue.
But not everything is ready to come to council on a monthly basis of what was discussed at the last meeting.
Well, I think we're doing an agenda, as you say, we want to do.
That's right, we don't, nobody wants to
Then
do it.
they gotta do the notes. I mean, but we gotta pick which one we do.
Just let's get together, be proactive on things, then
Then I don't
consolidate
know
our notes.
if we do an agenda. But if we're not gonna do an agenda,
Agenda that we don't.
then we just give an update. We said we don't need to do an agenda on a work meeting.
Right, but there
And
should
things
be
are not
some
ready
record
on a
of
monthly,
what,
but they're not, they're
there
not.
should be
ready.
some record of what was discussed and what action items.
Not everything is ready to be discussed in full open forum yet,
But then that becomes.
because it may
I
be 3 months before something's ready.
I think a report to council that says we met on this date, here's what we discussed, and here are the
We
action
don't have,
items.
that's why you need an agenda, if you don't have an agenda.
That only comes out after the meeting.
But once it's an oral report at council, it is then a matter of record. It becomes a matter of record.
Yeah.
So potentially committee meetings could be going on for 6 months and council never gets an update on certain subject matter until the committee decides they're ready.
Well, when the
to report.
committee's ready to present it to council, that it's ready to go, that's what you're doing, that's what this is about.
So where is
You are
where
working
is
on
the
a program.
transparency piece? Where is the transparency piece for keeping council apprised of what things you're working on? I mean,
Not
you,
until
I mean,
you work it until it's ready to come to be put on an agenda.
so there's no transparency. These
That's why you're
committees are
the
gonna
committee.
go up. I disagree completely with that.
I think we lose it, we're losing it when we don't put an agenda together.
That's black and white.
If we do an agenda, we have to have minutes.
Exactly.
How is that different than meeting notes?
Because you're only discussing what's on the agenda.
Well, then we're limited. What if, as a,
Well, that's
as a
why
working
you can't
meeting,
do. what
as
you
a
gotta
working
do.
meeting,
That's
One
why
or
we're
the
just
other.
giving an oral update and
You just
meeting
give an
like
oral update.
from our notes, obviously, but I mean, it's not like, oh, well, we didn't do anything this month. I don't think that's, what we should be doing, but we should get updates from our notes if we're gonna do that. And you gotta do one or the other. Which is my thing.
I think that not
So
having,
let's see, on the legislative item, on the legislative committee, because we're working towards whatever's gonna happen in November, this year or next year, whatever it could be. Well, this month, yeah, we just got to discuss SB 22. That was it, move on. What are you gonna say? Because you're not there. You don't even have the information to get it yet. And that's just a number, it's just, because you still gotta, receive all your information from the state, all that other good stuff. It's not, you can't do that. You're talking about infrastructure. Oh yeah, we discussed the problem in 1863 and 281, but
sure,
they don't
that's
have all the
a
information.
report. We discussed the
Yeah,
problem
but
at
there's no notes to that.
we discussed the problem at 1863 and 281, and Councilmember Kraywitz is gonna do some research on XYZ. That's a full report. This is what we discussed.
But if it's
These are the action
nowhere-
items.
And there's not an action item, because there's not always gonna be an action item on what you discuss. Especially if there's not an agenda, because now you left the door open to discuss anything you want in there.
All the more reason why there should be a report about what happened.
But hey, because you're discussing something doesn't mean there's an action item. And what you're bringing to council is an action item. Or something that you want to move
No,
forward.
what you're bringing to council on a monthly basis is transparency about the work you're doing. Transparency is the issue.
Francesco, committees are set up to work on a certain item or certain topic, right? You work on that topic until you're ready to present it to council, and now we have all the information. Here it is, this is what we found, this is where we're going, we're ready to move forward, and we'd like council to approve on what we're moving forward with.
And in the interim, council needs information about the work of the committees. And that's my position.
That's, if you don't have an agenda, then you can't do that. I mean, like, there's gonna be conversations in there about other things that aren't ready for council.
That's the problem. That's
But that's
precisely,
why I always
that is
say-
precisely the problem we are trying to solve too here.
It happens. The way government works. It's kind of sad to say, but that's the way it works. All right, so back to where we are. Number 10, the chair shall provide, the chair, sub-chair, or designee. Can we do that?
We said.
It's on
no
the,
committee
it's on the
member.
screen.
Oh, subcommittee member, that's fine, okay. An oral update of committee activities, first regular city council meeting of the month, which one should not be designated to the staff liaison. I'm okay with that, because the staff liaison will. Comments on this? Comments on this? Listen. Okay. You,
I'll second.
I didn't do a first motion.
I'll second the motion.
Let me do a motion. The number two. So I'll read as I put here, vice chair designated subcommittee members shall provide their own updated meeting activities. The first regular city council meeting of the month, responsible should not be delegated to the staff liaison. Now I can have a second.
Second.
Okay. All right, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay. Opposed?
That's 4-3.
All right, moving on. 11, the committee shall not meet more frequently than twice per month. Can we not have when we should meet more than not, because now that we don't have a staff liaison involved in the committee, may need to get together for a couple times a month?
I vote we strike.
So I think we strike that completely.
Agree.
Okay,
Fine by me.
I make a motion that number 11 be taken out.
Second.
Strike. Then I got a second down here, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 12. The committee structure budget shall be evaluated by the city council no later than the first regular city council meeting conducted in August 2027. And annually thereafter, this does not preclude city council confirming such audit audits needed on a more frequent basis. This goes back to,
It's a sunset.
I understand the sunset, but can we put in there that this, I mean, the committee could be disbanded at some point, right? So do we need to state that somewhere in there? And if the committee, why would we put in annually after?
Let me give you my thought behind this, kind of the legislative intent. My thought would be that maybe on an annual basis, you want to switch up committee memberships. You want to relook, and it's possible that, okay, I have got more than enough fun on the infrastructure committee, and you know, the mayor pro tem is more than enough fun on the comp committee. We'd like to switch roles or switch places. It might be that you want to change up the membership as you go forward. Doesn't preclude that. It's just saying that would be a natural time to do that. It's also coinciding with, you know, we're appointing new committee members, new boards for the planning and zoning, et cetera, et cetera. So it was my thought that that would give council an opportunity on an annual basis to come in and say, is the structure what we want it to be? Is the membership what we want it to be? It's just a natural pausing point to take a deep breath and say, is this working? That was the intent, at least.
Okay.
I think if you were going to change anything there, it would be that last sentence.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
This does not preclude city council from making changes to the committee structure and our membership as needed on a more frequent basis, or something to that effect, if that's what you're desiring.
Or one of the things I saw was the committee will automatically dissolve upon completion of its charge.
Well, let me ask you this. What if we added this to like a 13, because then it fixes this problem? Occasionally, the city council establishes ad hoc committees as advisory committees to make a recommendation to city council on issues that require a special approach or emphasis that cannot be accommodated by the three standing committees. Ad hoc committees are temporary and sunset after they make the final recommendation to city council. city council or council, the city council, appoints the members of the ad hoc committees. So if we did that, does it get rid of? Then this will, if we have 3 standing committees, which become the legislative, like we've talked, the 3 standing committees, and then you add the part about an ad hoc committee as 13, then that doesn't matter anymore because these other 3 will always be standing.
Would the ad hoc committees be subject to these rules?
Yes.
I think we're adding a layer of complexity before we need it.
Yeah, but you're gonna, hey, you gotta leave this open in case, what if you have a development all of a sudden, let's say we have an AI guy that wants to come in here. We're gonna develop an ad hoc committee that's gonna go,
Okay,
go to
I
be
think
involved in
this-
those meetings.
I think this says that this does not preclude city council from evaluating whatever Mike said, right? I think that number 12 solves that problem, and we can cross that bridge when we get to it. I think it potentially opens,
And
I think it adds a layer of
Let's get
complexity
with
before we've
complex.
even gotten out of the gate.
So what if we just got rid of the last sentence?
I think you want to keep it in. This does not preclude city council from performing.
no, that needs to stay in.
Yeah, but you're gonna do that every month anyway when you get your oral report. It just seems like we're adding more.
No, what he's saying is to add, Mike, can you say what you said?
I wish I could, it was off the top of my head.
Sorry. This does not preclude city council from performing such, dag nabbit,
For modifying or adding to the committee structure
there you go.
You need that flexibility.
Yeah.
and or changing membership
Yeah.
as desired on a more frequent basis.
Thank you.
So you're gonna add that to this?
Yes,
Yes.
and then I think that covers.
Then it makes it better, okay, on the last sentence. Yeah, that one's better. But leaving it the way it was is not.
So this does not preclude city council from modifying or adding to the committee structure or altering committee memberships as desired on a more frequent basis. Does that make sense with
Yeah,
everybody?
altering, right.
Oh,
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Altering.
this
That's
keyboard
okay,
is
yes,
like,
late, I know.
it's sticky and it's not catching every letter on it. Okay, all right.
For altering, okay, so for altering committee membership
As desired.
On a more
on a
frequent
more
basis.
frequent basis.
Modifying committee structure, that's all encompassing enough to
Yes,
get rid of a committee if you need.
correct. So that would substitute for,
Yes, get rid of that.
okay, so I move,
Okay, go ahead.
I move that we accept,
Well,
is this 12?
yes.
I thought it was 11, okay. That we accept 12 to read as follows. Committee structure and function shall be evaluated by the city council no later than the first regular city council meeting conducted in August 2027 and annually thereafter. This does not preclude city council from modifying or adding to the committee structure or altering committee membership as desired on a more frequent basis.
Wait a minute, before we go to a second on that, can we make that the second regular city council meeting of August? Because the first one is in,
We're in the middle of budget.
I understand that everybody's not gonna have time, that committee may not have time to get together between, you got budget on Thursday,
That is true.
so can we make that say second regular city council meeting conducted in August 2027? 2026, oh wait,
Yeah, no later than the second. No later than, so we could do it on the first if we chose to.
Yes.
Yes,
good.
okay.
Right.
I'm okay with
yes,
that.
all right, that works.
All right, so I modify my motion.
Okay,
I modify my motion to read no later than the second regular city council meeting, otherwise, my motion stands.
have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, you had a comment about when we got to the end of this?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right,
I have one
wait a minute,
paragraph.
wait, comments? From Alexander, Scott? Hawkins,
Good.
Watson.
I want to be careful about introducing this. My paragraph 10 addresses the issue of a committee or its members meeting with entities outside city government. I'm inclined to say that we should say that they do not require prior council approval for that, but that those meetings must be disclosed. And here's where I'm going with that. Once these committees are established, we're going to be contacted by people who want to have conversations about it's already happened. And so there needs to be some clarity and some transparency around conversations that committees or committee members are having with outside entities on matters relevant to the work of the committee.
So where we run into a problem is you're having a committee, you're gonna have a meeting with the developer, right? And, or, wait a minute, did you say outside?
Or infrastructure, let's say they need to sit down with TWC or some other utility company. So this is a question, I'd like to table this particular issue, and Mike, let me just ask as a procedural question, because I really do think this is a Matt Grove question.
Absolutely.
As a pre-deliberation communication, could the committee disclose to council, hey, this meeting or this contact happened, and not have that be subject? Because I understand, right? That,
But isn't it expected that they would be having this meeting? So every time that I go meet with Carrie Isaacs, or I get a phone call, hey, Ellen, what's going on in your city? That would have to be disclosed.
council, not public. It'd be good to know, I think it's.
I mean, it happens 3 or 4 times a week. It's automatic for me. I'm getting the calls from the judge, I'm getting the calls from everybody, so your council
I'm
member
thinking
is gonna have the same issue.
I'm thinking specifically about entities that may subsequently have business before council. Harry Isaac is not gonna have business before council.
No,
So
but
for
she's
example,
a
Public utilities, no, but I'm making a distinction. Public utility that may subsequently have business before council, who has been in discussion. I'm trying to tread carefully here, right? Because I'm not pointing fingers, but we've been pretty clear as a council that we don't want to have those conversations outside of this room. And I can see that there are going to be times now with the creation of these committees where those conversations may have to happen.
Well, I thought that's why we were creating the committees, was to
Okay,
to
so
offset that.
so if we're taking that off that leash, is what I'm saying. There needs to be a means by which transparently we are keeping all of council informed about those conversations. And my question for Matt is going to be, if we have said these committees do not have decision-making authority, and if those conversations happen in the context of the work of the committee, and we disclose that conversation to council, I think that qualifies as pre-deliberation communication for Toma.
However, you're gonna run into the problem of First Amendment, because everybody has rights. So Jason could be on a committee with 3 other people, and somebody call him and say, I'm gonna have a conversation,
I said
he can have that
I said
conversation.
specifically in conjunction with the work of the committee.
But
It pertains
he
to
can
the.
still have that conversation. You cannot, because it's the First Amendment.
Let me ask this question, are you all envisioning, because you said something that caused some level of concern. Are you envisioning this as an avenue to meet with developers in advance of applications or in advance of any dialogue with planning staff?
I think
don't
we
like
need to, I don't either, and that's why I'm saying.
We have 3 committees: infrastructure, governance and, legislative and, and
Comprehensive.
comprehensive
plan.
plan.
And I guarantee
You
you,
know, comprehensive plan
is gonna get contacted.
should not be, you know, discussing stuff with text on.
Well, I'm
You
thinking of the
understand what I'm saying?
developers.
I'm
Yeah,
talking
it's the
about,
developers.
but the they should not be, still not be talking to the developer because they're working on our comprehensive plan, right? They should be talking to our community about what they want, comprehensive
Developers
plan.
are part of the.
That, but developers should not be talking to you about a development. They can talk to you about the priority, the future, or whatever they'd like to see, right? Which is what you would take into consideration.
My point is, I think this starts to get into a dangerous area. And I think we should be extremely explicit about all of this.
All I'm saying is you can't take away First Amendment freedom. You throw anybody in there.
If we got a problem with this council, we put it against the agenda, then we can have a vote of censure for unethical behavior. I don't think that we need to have this here, but you're not wrong, right? I just don't believe it lives here.
I'm not comfortable with committees meeting with developers at all.
I-
And that includes CWC.
Same.
CWC is the biggest developer out here.
I think this covers a lot of ground, and I think the distinction for me is, if it is an entity that is likely to have business before the council at some future point, contact with that entity should be disclosed to council. And my question for the city attorney would be, does that constitute pre-deliberation communication, which, as I understand it, is because I understand why we wouldn't necessarily want to say in public whatever we think this utility is going after this lot, for all of the reasons why some of that stuff might need to be confidential. But I think I'm very concerned about, we've already said we're not going to do meeting notes. What's the obligation now if we are contacted or have a conversation with an entity doing business before council? What's our obligation to disclose that?
If it's not in a committee, a person can have, based on the First Amendment.
Yes, I understand that we can all do whatever we want. I understand that.
That's a Matt question.
You guys are right, because the perception is we're acting on the city's behalf in our inquiry. Make a good message, really valid business. I agree.
I think
It's
we
all
need
gonna be
some.
subject to the Public Information Act.
Does it need to live on
Is it
this?
though? And that's my question for Matt. Is disclosure of that to council part of pre-deliberation communication that would be exempt from
Yeah.
that? That's the question. And do we want to make it mandatory that committees disclose those contacts with council?
I think it's in a transparency issue.
100%.
All right,
Need to table that one. Postpone.
okay, so, we don't have anything else on here, no public comments, and so we're adjourned this meeting at 9:20.
I'm sorry, point of order. I have a standing concern before the council. How do we resolve that? These guidelines are not finalized, in my view.
There's still a motion on the resolution. Well, there's a table postponed.
Correct.
On the
The resolution is a separate item.
The resolution, these guidelines are exhibit A to the resolution.
So we jumped into exhibit A.
We have to approve the resolution. I'm modifying.
If you're wishing to continue with the meeting, we would need to reconvene and open the meeting back up at 9:26.
Yeah, I know, I didn't totally write it down to finish my sentence. So, open the meeting at 9:26, reconvene. To look at resolution. Appointing members to set committees. Comments? We're gonna go through one 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. 1. Whereas the Bulverde City Council desires to create city council committees, and whereas the city council desires to emphasize city operations relating to legislative matters, municipal infrastructure, comprehensive planning. And whereas the proposed committee shall be comprised of no more than 3 currently serving council. Now therefore, be it resolved by the city of Bulverde, Texas, City Council hereby establishes the following city council committees. Legislative, infrastructure, and comprehensive plans. Section 2, the initial term of service for committee members shall commence with the adoption of this resolution and the first regular city council meeting. We need for that to say second. Well, no, do we really need that in there after we changed what we changed over here in the guidelines? Because we added number 12. Do we need that in section 2?
It's a matter of
Section
preference for you
3.
all, but likely not.
Okay, then let's take out section 2 because that is taking care of 12.
Section 2 of the resolution or section 3 of the
No,
resolution?
section 2.
2 is the committees established by this resolution are advisory only.
The resolution. The
I'm looking
resolution.
at the resolution.
On page 1.
I don't have the wrong one.
Okay, so let's take out section 2 since that is addressed in 12. Okay, and then the city council directs the city manager to designate a staff liaison to assist with the overall function of each respective committee. We'll leave that one. The associated guidelines here attached as Exhibit A to this resolution are hereby adopted. The following members are hereby appointed to the legislative committee: Mayor Hayes, Councilman Hawkins, Councilman Goff.
I do want to make comment on that. So I would like to know why I'm getting tapped for legislative committee. I feel Francesca is a far better candidate for that committee.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, this is what we already approved all of this.
We did not take a vote.
That
We
was
did
at
not
the
vote on
workshop.
these at all.
You guys
It was a workshop.
Chris wasn't even here for that.
Directions to staff. That was directions to staff to put into the resolution.
If the guy didn't show up to the first meeting, don't put him on the most important committee.
It's not the most important.
You got
Legislative?
You have
Yeah,
volunteers.
that's governmental.
No. You do not need my expertise in that area.
So what, we're taking Goff off of the
Please take me
legislative?
off of that. Put Francesca in there. She is swimming in the bath every day.
Yeah, are you
Well,
interested
then
in
she's
that?
not gonna be able to be in, she won't be able to be on the
I
comprehensive
would
plan
love to be on top.
because we're gonna switch you out with Christoph.
There are other people serving on 2 committees.
You want to
You
stay on
can't
that?
add a fourth to that. How are you gonna add a fourth?
What do you mean?
Just take
I
me
don't
out
know
of the
what you
meeting
mean.
altogether.
Yeah, what do you mean? There's not gonna be a fourth on the complement.
If you add him to there, you're
I
gonna
am
have.
hereby volunteering to serve on both committees.
You're not understanding. If you move Chris to 7, then you have 4 people. Who else is getting off of 7?
Well, she says she wants to stay on 7.
Exactly, but you're putting Chris Goff on there, then you have 4.
You said we're putting Chris Goff on there.
Take me off the wall. I don't care. She can double dip.
Y'all have a discussion real quick and figure it out.
Where are we putting you? That's what I'm telling you. If I'm gonna do 7, that's right. Now there's 4 people on there.
That's cool.
There
No.
can't be.
Of course, don't put me on any of these.
Francesca, are you okay leaving the complement for the legislative?
I have a finite amount of ability to attend these meetings to begin with, let alone add these additional meetings. So if I'm not gonna be as productive as you'd like a committee member to be, then just leave me off of it, and then you guys.
I want you
Sure.
to help us on legislative.
Yeah, in official capacity, sure, in an unofficial capacity, yeah, just call me.
Okay, so let's leave it there then.
Okay, but
Okay.
I would
All right,
feel
thank you.
strongly about Francesca coming on to.
I understand, but I think she wants to.
I
I
want
am
to
She
be,
wants to be on
I want
legislative.
to be on legislative and
So then
You
just-
can't. Because here we
Just who's staying and who's going on the complement? Y'all do.
Who's
One
on?
more.
Okay, yeah, y'all need to decide which, if you're getting off that one, then if he's switching, I mean.
Francesca, get off compliment. I think you're gonna be far better on legislative, and then that balances everything out. Is that cool?
I have real strong feelings about.
You can't have strong feelings about everything. Like,
I don't. I have
priority. Like,
Hold on. Hold on. I'll get off complaints so Francesca can be on.
Right, get off to.
No, because it was your suggestion. But you and I have had many conversations
Yeah.
about it. I really need you in that.
If you want to be on complaints with that, Chris, I'll get off the complaints.
oh, shucks, Jason. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Do you want to get on infrastructure? I mean,
For the record,
No, I'm on top.
No, I need to be on it.
for the record, I'm related.
Yeah, you do need to be on
Yeah, you know that stuff.
Where my headspace is.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to foul it up. I'm just.
Okay, so revised section 5, legislative committee, Mayor Helen Hayes, Councilmember Ted Hawkins, Councilmember Francesca Watson. Infrastructure committee, Mayor Pro Tem Alexander, Councilmember Zach Brown, Councilmember Jason Krewitz. And comprehensive plan committee, Councilmember Francesca Watson, Councilmember Chris Goff, and Mayor Pro Tem Joe Alexander.
Sounds good to me.
Tonight, this resolution shall become effective immediately upon its passage and approval.
Oh, I got a point of order real quick. We did nothing about number 13 that was written on here, like Francesca. There was no action or no vote or what? It wasn't
No,
brought to
because
question,
that's not,
but we need to know if we're gonna postpone it to the next meeting and have Matt review it or what.
I'd like to make a proposal that we accept Exhibit A as amended with the understanding that this issue will be addressed.
wait, guys, wait, we're out of order, wait a minute,
We haven't.
wait a minute. We're in the middle of the resolution, okay?
No, but you missed this part.
You missed this part as a point of order. We have not finalized our acceptance of Exhibit A. Exhibit A is incorporated into the resolution by reference. We have to do that first. And I'm proposing, we've now voted on each of these different revisions to Exhibit A. I'm proposing we accept it as revised with the understanding that this issue
What is
raised.
number 13? What are you putting in number 13?
I'm not putting it into the exhibit. I'm suggesting that we explicitly set aside that item for discussion with the city attorney in executive session at our next meeting. That Exhibit A otherwise be adopted as revised, so that we can move ahead with the resolution acceptance. Because we can come back and modify that exhibit following discussion with the city attorney, correct?
Good time.
So, we're not gonna add 13 tonight.
We are not.
No,
But I do.
not to 13 tonight, and then no to,
There have been so many changes. I would almost prefer us to take the Exhibit A, tidy it up, clean it up, and present you with
That's what
a
needs to happen.
resolution and an Exhibit A at the next council meeting, along with the discussion that we have with the city attorney at that time.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I thought we were doing. We need to do that. There's been so much change.
There
no,
has
y'all
been,
wanted to do this tonight, y'all wanted to do the resolution.
Well, and we're
But this is a
90%
rough act, Helen.
we're 95% of the way there, Mayor.
Yeah,
We're mostly there, but
it just needs to.
Sandra and I really need to put our heads together and make sure we've heard the same thing and go back and
Yeah.
listen to whatever tape we've got rolling.
Polish it up.
So let's table, no, let's postpone, item 3F to the next meeting.
But we are 95% of the way there.
So are you referring to August 11th? Yes.
Yes.
Second,
We need to make a motion, right?
yeah,
Yes.
postpone.
I move that we postpone.
We already did that, he seconded.
We have a vote. Did you catch that?
Yes,
Who did the motion?
I did.
She motioned to postpone 3F to the next meeting.
No, I moved that we, yeah, so we 3F to the next meeting.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mike, just for
We're adjourning
clarity,
this meeting
Mike,
at 9:37.
Till the next one.
that motion was necessary authorization to do the executive session item.
Thanks for hanging around.
And then password. See y'all on Thursday.
Yeah,
I was gonna
it was a
need
while.
a point of personal.
Oh, you gotta tell that. Yeah, I don't think that's. There it is. On Thursday, I'm gonna be at the city official training center.
It's gonna be out my budget.
Well, yes,